Naruto. Obito is exposed and the ninja world is shocked. Chapter 26. Bridge and other sacks. Teacher, Rin, I feel the third force. Kakashi suddenly spoke. Before he finished speaking, he saw a surging cyan chakra erupting from his body, like a flame steaming and slowly burning. Then the cyan chakra gradually darkens in color, condensing from intangible to substance, and the prototype of bone is faintly visible. Then it was completely shaped into huge ribs and arms, on which the cyan chakra shined in the sunlight, like a carved jade. It's gorgeous. Kakashi was shrouded in Susanoo's ribs. Susanoo. Obito blurted out. It's worthy of Madara's eyes, a single eye can allow Kakashi to turn on Susa's power. It seems that it is only the initial form, but in time, it may not be able to evolve to the fourth form. In terms of the increase in pupil power alone, Madara's eye is especially better than his divine power blood chakra eye. After all, in the previous life, when Kakashi possessed the Monogamy blood chakra eye, he could not open Susa's power. Susanoo is the representative of the destroyer, and its blow has the power to smash everything. It is a well-deserved divine power, and mortals will inevitably die when they see it. Susanoo is lodged in the kaleidoscope blood chakra eye, and under normal circumstances, both eyes need to be opened together. But there is no lack of talented people, their pupil power is at its peak, a single kaleidoscope blood chakra eye can also be opened. The most impressive thing about Obito is the spot in the previous life, no eye opened Susa. Sensei, how did Kakashi's chakra materialize? The sudden appearance of the chakra skeleton froze Rin in place, and she felt that the power contained in it could easily smash herself. It's terrible. Is this still a power that mortals can have? This should be Uchiha's Susanoo. I don't know the specifics, I only heard Jiraiya sensei say that Uchiha's ancestor Uchiha used this move to fight against the original Hokage-sama. Rao is a knowledgeable and well-informed Watergate, and his understanding of Susanoo is only superficial. I can't answer detailed questions for my own students. Kakashi's Susanoo didn't last long before quietly collapsing. He was half-crouched in place, gasping for air, and in just a few seconds, chakra was on the verge of bottoming out. However, Fang Kai's power gave him the feeling that he had turned into a burly god of war, enough to watch the world and sweep through the eight wastes. Is this the power of the blood chakra eye? Obito, you really gave me a big gift. A wry smile appeared at the corner of Kakashi's mouth. Once he also mocked Obito for only giving him a burden, but now it seems that he really looks down on people. Kakashi, are you alright? Rin stepped forward and helped Kakashi up. I'm okay. I am fine. Kakashi waved his hand. It's okay. Kakashi, it seems that this eye is extraordinary, and I feel that its original owner must be an incredible existence. Watergate walked forward and said slowly. Kakashi bowed his head, knowing how powerful it was. A powerful Uchiha powerhouse cannot be nameless, then his eyes are likely to be recognized. Whether it is the enemy or friend of that strong man, it is not a good thing for him. Which strong person is exactly, you will know after going back to Uchiha to secretly investigate. Now, let's go back first. Teacher, what about Obito? What to do with soil? Lin asked the question she had been most worried about since just now. Watergate clenched his chin and muttered. Obito was buried in the rubble with your own eyes, and if it is true as Kakashi said, then he must have the bitterness of not being able to meet us. He first stated his speculation, and then added, if so, after returning to the village, I will still report that I died in battle. Why don't you report the disappearance so that the people in the village can help us find soil in the future? Lin said she didn't understand. Is it possible that Obito doesn't want us to find him? Watergate said faintly. All right. Lin said compromisedly. Although she really wanted to see Obito, she was even more afraid of spoiling Obito, which would drag him down. Then let's go to the vanguard to converge, and then return to the village together. Yes. Watergate leapt away with the two. After a long time, it was confirmed that the three of Watergate left. It's worthy of being a teacher, and he guessed me all at once. Obito emerged from the distant woods, looked in the direction they left, and said guiltily, Rin, forgive me, I can't recognize you, it will hurt you. Quote. There is a torture department in Konoha, and the leader is called Mori Ibiki, who is an expert in torture. At that time, his identity will be exposed. Kakashi has the support of the Kiki family. There are 3 generations of Watergate teachers and Jiraiya. Only Rin, a commoner, is the most vulnerable to targeting. There are many parties in Konoha. You have to find a backer for Rin. Obito thought abruptly. Nay, Obito, Kakashi's move just now was so majestic, I almost peed my pants in scares. Oh no, I didn't wear pants, and I didn't pee. Faye leaned over and muttered to himself. Obito said helplessly, do you want to ask me if I will? Nani? Obito, how would you know what I think? Are you a roundworm in my stomach? Oh no, I don't have roundworms in my stomach. Faye jumped to the side in shock, looking at Obito in disbelief. He felt that his IQ was about to be surpassed. You'll know then. Let's go, find a place to stay first. Obito didn't want to waste his lips and tongue with Faye, because according to Faye's brain circuit, he would definitely have to pester himself again later and show him it. Wait a minute. How do I know Faye's brain circuits? Have I become stupid too? Thinking of this, Obito quickened his pace. The land of grass is located between the land of fire and the land of earth. The country is small, the domestic politics are corrupt, and the national strength is weak, and even the other 2 neighboring small countries, Rain and Taki, look down on him. There are 2 great powers looking at each other, and the superiors of the country of grass simply put on a bad spot, choosing to curry favor with the country of fire and barely gain a foothold in this chaotic world. Kusanagi village naturally also chose to establish diplomatic relations with Konoha. During the Third Shinobi War, Iwane village wanted to make a move on Konoha, so he first took Kusanagi village to open the knife. For a time, Kusanagi village suffered heavy casualties and suffered heavy losses. Even during the day, every house is closed and the streets are deserted with no pedestrians. Obito and Faye walked one after the other on the empty street. Faye, remember, don't cause trouble. Obito instructed. He was most afraid of the neurotic Faye asking questions everywhere. In this era of war, order is chaotic, everyone's nerves are very sensitive, and those who can do it will never move their mouths. You know, Faye, am not a person who likes to make fun. You'd better not be. Obito heart rode. Obito, where are we going now? Faye asked. Go to the tavern, it's lively. Lively? I like to be lively. Don't you like to join in the fun? I don't like to be fun, but I like it. I'm really defeated by you. Obito really wants to give himself a big mouth. What am I doing with a fool? Kaoyan Village Tavern. Obito and Faye sat in the corner of the tavern, consciously or unconsciously looking at the guests in the tavern. Unlike the deserted streets on the street, the tavern is very hot. It is a place full of fish and dragons, full of thugs licking blood from the tip of a knife. The sound of cups clashing endlessly, accompanied by the sound of drunken people, it is very noisy. The tavern gathers figures from all the forces of the ninja world, and it is also a place where news is dense. At this moment, a large group of people gathered in the tavern film, and there were conversations from time to time. Have you heard? The Shinmubi bridge was blown up, and I heard that Konoha's yellow flash led people to do it. No. Iwane's East dead all died at his hands. Quote. I heard that at that time, only 4 people were left in Konoha's defense force to be killed by the East dead, and just when Mimura Hanamaki was desperate, the wave Feng Shui Gate arrived in time to save the situation with 100 enemies. Gee, do all the people in Yenian eat dry food? It's a shame to be killed like this by a person. What do you understand? That wave of Feng Shui Master Jiraiya, one of the 3 ninja of the legend of Konoha, a famous master out of a high apprentice, a flying thunder god forbidden technique with one hand made the divine into a divine, and he was haunted on the battlefield, and no one was invincible. Is there such a god? You wouldn't be Konoha's, would you? Exaggerate in this. No, I'm Union, let's talk, see the yellow flash, just run. Is it really so scary? The next Hokage designation is him. It can't be. Is he still so young? 30 years old. No, it's only in my early 20s. Hiss. Everyone present gasped. Shadow in his early 20s, unbelievable. Even his mentor has commented on him. The man stood up and pretended to imitate. Compared to Watergate, no one is good enough. Quote. There was an uproar here, and it was possible to get such a high evaluation from the legendary Sanrin, and its strength and talent were evident. The teacher is really famous. Obito listened to the crowd blowing his teacher on the sidelines, listening with relish. Speaking of the three shinobi, I have to mention Yuyen's Hanzo. Since the last time he was rewarded by that mysterious power in the sky, his strength has improved again, and now he is killing madness in Yuyen village. I heard that I got a power called Immortal Chakra. What is Immortal Chakra? I don't know. Listening to Yuyen, Hanzo now calls himself the god of the ninja world, and has great plans to dominate Yuyen and expand his territory. There is an emerging organization called Shao in that Yuyen village, which is developing rapidly and is also very strong. Don't mention it, the Shao organization has recently poured blood mold. A middle-aged scar-faced man joined the conversation team with a wine glass. Obito turned his head sideways and listened carefully. Everyone moved the position of the scar-faced man. The scar-faced man sat down and said, "After that masked man Fei declared war on the entire ninja world, the Shao organization was judged as an evil organization by Yuyen village, and vigorously eliminated it." Another misty middle-aged fat man echoed, "You know, Konoha's Tuonzo is involved." Quote. "Why did Konoha kick everything?" Someone shouted in dissatisfaction. The scar-faced man drank a glass of wine and poured himself another glass before saying, "The country of fire and the country of rain border, Konoha is naturally afraid that Yuyen will become bigger, and I want to fight you to death and me to live within Yuyen village." Indeed. Danzo's grandson is known as the Dark Shadow of Konoha, he does all the dirty work, and his hands are very black. A ninja from Taki no Kuni complained. "Shish. Are you dead? Danzo's eyes and ears are all over the ninja world, if you listen to this, will you have good fruit to eat?" His companion quickly covered his mouth and reminded. The man smiled, only to realize that the disaster came from his mouth, and after looking around, he lowered his head and drank the alcohol. At this time, someone changed the topic back. But the evil organization, everyone is cursed, and there is nothing to pity for Shao. I rather hope that Yuyen village will quickly kill them, lest there be another war in a few years. As soon as these words came out, those present seconded one after another. The ninja world has been fighting hard for a long time. But it is strange to say, how can the Shao organization be characterized as an evil organization when it clearly believes in bringing peace without the use of force? It's not all the good things that Ah Fei did, saying that he wanted to collect the tailed beast, what kind of moon eye plan, and bring the world to illusion. How can there be such a madman? If it weren't for the Easter eggs playing behind the first scene, I would have thought it was a prank. At first, everyone didn't believe it, but didn't you see the second scene? That guy took Deidara of Yenian and controlled the three tails at once. That's a tailed beast. Quote. Speaking of Mio Iso, the high level of Wuyin village is angry. I heard that I had been preparing for a long time, and I just wanted to capture Isoji and enter this war, but Isoji disappeared. The ninja of Iwane village said with a smile, and his tone was full of schadenfreude. It's really outrageous, the tailed beast can also be rewarded. If it weren't for the fact that even bigwigs like Onoki and Hanzo came out to testify, I would have thought the image was fake. Yes. When will the reward be drawn to me? I run along every time. An alcoholic said indignantly, there is definitely a shady scene, that Uchiha spot, every time there is him. By what? These words resonated with everyone, and they greeted the whole family of Uchiha. Anyway, everyone would rather trust what they have, not trust them. Na Shao has already released his words, and will never accept Deidara, who is Fei and Yenian. To prove innocence. The scar-faced man said to himself. He seems to know Yuyen village very well. Harm. Who knows what the future holds? Let's destroy it as soon as possible. The content later turns to various anecdotes, such as a princess of a certain country being abducted by an enemy ninja, and a ninja from a certain village returning from a battle to find that his wife is pregnant. Obito listened proudly, and took Ah Fei up and walked to the street. It seems that the situation has changed because of that video. At this time in the previous life, Shao had developed like the sky, but this life was forced to be in danger. Obito thought as he walked. Madara's reincarnation eye is still there in Nagato, you have to hurry over, if you are preempted by the Black Jew, it will be a big deal. Obito chose to be honest with Madara last time, and Madara will definitely not be used by Madara again. But Madara still doesn't know from his final decision, and the only thing that is certain is that Heiji that Urgozai will not give up saving Datuki Kagaya. What will Madara do after knowing that he is a pawn of Kuroye? Will it count? Does Kuro know that Madara has realized that he is being used by him? If so, what would it do? Obito thought for a long time, trying to substitute himself into the thinking of both, but he could not guess the direction. But no matter what, Nagato's pair of reincarnation eyes are the key. Madara will not give up the opportunity to resurrect himself. Kuro has waited for so many years, and will never give up easily. In short, this trip to Yuyin village is imperative. Obito looked at the gloomy sky and thought a lot. The blood debt owed to Yahiko in the previous life. This life has to be repaid. Torrential rain fell from the sky, whipping the surface of the river, rippling countless ripples, like water lotuses blooming. In the center of a rippling wave, bubbles suddenly appeared, and then a mummy-like head drilled out of the water. Then the entire robe slowly emerged from below the surface of the water, bathed in this rain curtain. In this way, Obito sneaked into the village of Yuyin, and chakra condensed under his feet, allowing him to stand on the water. He looked at the Yuyin village in front of him. The sky and the earth were gray, and the fierce wind swept through the torrential rain whipping his face, and from time to time there was thunder, and the thunder light traced the outline of the village in front of him. It was like an unknown longtan tiger's den, eerie and daunting. The defense of Yuyin village is still so weak, and the accident of sneaking in is smooth. Fortunately there is Yuafei, otherwise I will wear an extra raincoat on a rainy day. Obito muttered. He walked along the river towards Yuyin village. Then next, let's gather intelligence first. Pedestrians on the street are hurried, and they don't like to linger in the rain. Everyone wore raincoats and carried cloaks. Rao was so, and the rain also splashed their trouser legs, shoes and socks. A Yuyin village member ran into a family wine house in a panic and complained, "This weather. Let no one stop." Then he shouted, "Boss, hot a jug of wine." Quote. This subordinate shinobi has thick eyebrows and big eyes, a square face and a broad forehead, a dampened old ninja suit, and a thin figure. Okay. The owner of the front desk answered with a smile and served him a wine cup that had already been ironed. Hiss. The subordinate took a sip of hot wine, felt his body warm up slightly, held the wine glass in both hands, and couldn't help but shiver. My lord. What have you been up to lately? The boss thoughtfully brought a plate of peanut rice and asked with a smile. Alas, it's not a matter of dawn yet. Those grandchildren, like mice, don't know where to hide. Shimoto scolded, took the peanut rice, and took another sip of wine. I heard that Konoha's Danzo is also making trouble with us. The boss wiped the wine glass in his hand and turned his back to Shinobu. You know that. Recently, I heard that they want to unite with the Shao organization and jointly fight against Hanzo-sama. Hehe, they are all a bunch of rabble. Sha Ren said with a disdainful smile. Hanzo-sama's strength is unparalleled in the world. I heard that he has a new immortal chakra. Before the boss could finish speaking, he was rudely interrupted. Hey, you don't know the rules in the village. It is forbidden to discuss Hanzo-sama. Before he finished speaking, he was greeted with a pair of red eyes, and in a trance, he only felt that heaven and earth were reversed, turning yin and yang upside down. With no consciousness left, only instinctive obedience remained, and vaguely, he saw his most respected Hanzo-sama standing in front of him. Black Fang got up and knelt down in a panic. Hanzo-sama. Quote. Your name. Quote. Black Fang. Hanzo bowed his head and ordered. Black Fang, tell me the latest information you know about the Shao organization. Yes, Hanzo-sama. Yinian village killed civilians. Shao organized to stop it when he heard the news, but was ambushed, and Wei Tianjisuk was seriously injured. Any idea where they're hiding? Still looking, Hanzo-sama. Waste. Get out. You've never been to this store today, and you've never seen me in this store. In the line of sight of the black teeth, Hanzo's eyebrows were raised, his brows were furrowed, and his eyes were fierce. Yes. Wait. Pay. Black Fang trembled, quickly put down the wine money, and ran out of the izakaya with his head down. Obito sat down in the guest's place and poured a glass of wine from the wine cup, his mind echoing with the information that Black Fang had said. Iwane village attacks civilians. It should have been done by the roots of Tuanzo's subordinates. If you know, you should still be hiding in that cave. If you go rashly, you will definitely not be trusted, no matter. First go over and step on a point, and then wait for the opportunity. In a cave far from Yuyan village. The members of the Xiao organization sat around Hatosuke on the floor. Tianjin Kana was bubbling with a glowing green light in her hand, and she was trying her best to help Wei Tianju heal. Hatosuke covered his chest, looking like he was about to die, and said weakly to Xiao Nan on the side, Miss Xiao Nan, I still have one wish that has not been fulfilled, I don't know if I should say it. Yahiko, the leader of the Xiao organization, said anxiously, Hatosuke, no matter what kind of wish, I will fulfill it for you, you just say. After Hatosuke listened, he rolled his eyes and coughed twice. Boss, this has nothing to do with you. After speaking, he looked at Xiao Nan with affection, and his eyes shouted with earnest expectations. He said carefully, Sister Xiao Nan, the letter I gave you that day, can you think about it again? I, Hatosuke, will definitely protect you with my life. Xiao Nansheng's cold and flawless face, wearing a paper flower on his light blue hair, set off a little more beautiful and elegant, and the auspicious cloud robe wrapped the slender body. The end is cold as frost, Zealand Kixon. At this moment, the orange pupils looked at Hatosuke, and said the most cruel words in the gentlest tone. Hatosuke, you are a good person. Xiao organization will always remember you. Poof. Tianjin Kana laughed, withdrew the healing hand, and quipped, Miss Xiaonan, you ignore him, he's fine, just cultivate for a few days. Then he turned to Hatosuke and said, since Miss Konam rejected you, you can go with peace of mind. Hatosuke looked up at the sky and felt that there was no darker day in his life than today. A dozen people surrounded themselves, watching themselves confess their failures, laughing without speaking. I don't know who couldn't help it first. The crowd was suddenly filled with cheerful atmosphere. Laughing at what? Don't laugh. Could it be that I alone like Miss Xiaonan? You fearless rats. Seeing that the laughter was getting louder, Hatosuke closed his eyes and fainted. The members of the show organization were brothers and sisters, and Hatosuke was injured, and their hearts were raised to their throats. Now that Hatosuke is okay, everyone breathes a sigh of relief. Especially Yahiko. I don't know how long it took, but the torrential rain finally stopped. Behind a boulder below the cave, two figures quietly hidden. Woohoo! Faye closed his mouth and made a strange cry softly. Shish. Remember, you're a dumb now. Dumb people can't speak. Obito stretched out his finger and made a silencing motion. He and Ah Fei rushed here non-stop. There was a faint light on the cave overhead, and wisps of cooking smoke came out. The hiding place of the Xiao organization is the same as in the previous life. Obito is a little calmer. Fei on the side raised his head and let the rainwater flow into his body through the hole in the mask. The next time the soil enters my body, it will be wet. Fei thought vengefully. As night falls, the rain stops and the air smells of earth. The starry sky is dotted with stars, sprinkling the stars and covering the body of Obito like a quilt. Wrapped in Ah Fei's pajamas, he found a hidden location and slept on the spot. Ah Fei, why are you wet here? After a while, Obito's brows furrowed slightly. Inside Fei's body, it was wet and cold, making him uncomfortable, like wearing clothes that had not dried. I don't know. Ah Fei's prank was achieved, but he didn't know it, and secretly snickered in his heart. After a while, Obito tossed and turned, really couldn't stand the dampness, and simply got up. Forget it, I'd better use the fire to bake it. Fei. Quote question mark. Quote. Does this mean that roasting can be roasted? Did you ask me to agree? Bring the soil to seal both hands and accurately control the amount of chakra. Fire. Mini fireball technique. Ah Fei, mine is very hot, you bear with it. A reminder with a quirky smile. Fei got up and tried to escape from the claws of Obito, but was dragged back. Ouch. The piercing screams are especially terrifying in the quiet of the night. Obito quickly covered his mouth. What sound? The vigil members of the Xiao organization shuddered. He recalled the screams of the old Sao next door in the middle of the night, and his heart was stunned. After a while, wrapped in soil after heating and drying, Ah Fei sighed with satisfaction, and said, Ah Fei, I will sleep, pay attention to the wind, remember to wake me up if there is movement. Quote. As an artificial human, Afe doesn't have to sleep, so he is really the best choice to keep an eye on. Afe was aggrieved. Obito, are you the devil? Quote. He's a little bit of a spot. Late in the middle of the night. Obito, who was sleeping, was dreaming of Yorin, and suddenly woke up in a shaking. He opened his hazy eyes and immediately noticed that in the cave above, several black shadow fish came out, led by Yahiko. They took off the auspicious robes of the Shao organization and changed into civilian clothes. Fei, go, keep up. Obito's body melted into the ground and quietly followed behind the team, like a night elf. Yahiko's group was fast and soon reached a small village. Strangely, the lights here are dark, 5 fingers are missing, and the air is still filled with the smell of blood. Boss, something is wrong. A middle-aged bald head blocked Yahiko's side and said warily. The bald man is called Big Buddha, and he is also one of the elders of the Shao organization. He looks fierce, his eyebrows are upside down, and there is a Buddha mole at the center of his eyebrows. Watch out. Yahiko also noticed. They came to replenish biological supplies, and this is a stronghold of Shao. It used to be lit here, but at the moment it was dark, and it was obviously wrong. Yahiko immediately ordered, hurry up, withdraw. However, it was too late, and I saw a group of fox-faced masks pouring out from all around, surrounding them, apparently dormant for a long time. In an ambush, someone in the crowd shouted. The battle was about to break out, and the burly body of the big Buddha blocked Yahiko's body. Boss, you go first, I will break later. Let's go together. Yahiko is determined not to give up his partner. Want to go? None of you can escape. A yellow-faced man wearing a faceless mask stood up and directed a group of people. Seal. Quote. Ziyin e ugly di yin. The sound of the surrounding imprints is spectacular. Tu duan. Dirt flow wall. In. The next instant, 4 huge earthen walls surrounded the members of the Shao organization. The enemy stood on the earthen wall, overlooking Shao's group of people condescendingly, intending to catch turtles in an urn. The masked man pointed at Yahiko and said, adult, catch alive. Quote. Fire. Phoenix Immortal Fire Technique. In the next instant, the flame mixed with the dark weapon split the head and headed downward. Yahiko took the lead in hurriedly shooting down the flying dark weapon, but it was inevitably burned by the flames. The opponent is well trained, and the 2 groups of people are released alternately, and the attack seems to be endless. If anyone tries to break through, they will be shot down immediately. Soon, some members of the Shao organization fell. Abominable. Yahiko was anxious, and his mind was racing to think of a plan to get out. However, in the effort of this meeting, some people in the Shao organization were injured and lost their combat effectiveness. The remaining members surrounded the wounded and Yahiko in the middle, desperately protecting them. Yahiko's heart sank to the bottom. Shui Duan. Water chaos. Quote. He tried to cut open the earthen wall, but immediately a new one appeared. In vain, the situation became more and more dangerous and dangerous. Boss. Joining the Shao organization is the most correct decision I have ever made in my life, and I have never lived so meaningfully. The Great Buddha gradually exhausted himself and knelt beside Yahiko, who no longer had any hope. Yahiko still refused to give up, remembering that the other party wanted to catch the mouth alive, so he moved and shouted, let my teammates go, or I will die here immediately. Saying that, he took out an explosive charm and pointed it at himself. Stop. The opponent really stopped attacking. The faceless masked man looked down at the leader of the Shao organization who was like a caged bird, and after a while, he joked. The adult has explained, the red-haired one is not dead. Yahiko raised his hand and pulled it down weakly, and the other party wanted to grab Nagato. He was utterly desperate. At this moment, a voice came from afar. Did you adults say that you shouldn't deceive people too much? Obito walked slowly to attract the attention of the other party. Who are you? The faceless masked man showed vigilance, quietly looked around, and saw that Obito was alone, and his nerves relaxed. I'm Pain. As soon as he finished speaking, a kuwu cut through the night and shot straight at the other party's face. The enemy had already noticed it, easily flashed, and mocked, just by this little trick. In the next instant, Obito appeared behind him at lightning speed. He took the kuwu that flew over and pressed it against the neck of the faceless masked man. Then he whispered to his ear, a bag of rice has to carry several floors. Feel the pain. This is Flying Thor. An incredible voice sounded. In the next second, blood splattered, and the masked man's throat was instantly cut by the sharp Ku-Wu. Hot blood stained the mask red, and he covered his neck and fell weakly to the ground. The pupils in his eyes gradually lost their radiance. He didn't even understand until he died. Why did this guy named Pain know Konoha's forbidden technique, Flying Thunder? Obito turned around and shot at the rest of the people. Under the cover of night, he brazenly used divine power to blur his figure. The enemy's attacks were in vain, and they had not yet reacted. Obito, like a ghost, appears nearby and reaps their lives. In a short time, 6 or 7 people lost their lives. Withdraw. Someone shouted. The rest dragged the bodies of their dead companions and evacuated in an instant. Obito didn't bother to pursue, but turned his head to look at Yahiko and the others. Land of Rain, temporary base of Konoha. What's going on? Shimura Danzo looked down at the embarrassed subordinates, and his gloomy expression could not show joy or anger. Danzo-sama. Halfway to kill a mysterious man named Pain, the captain was careless, and was killed by him in an instant. We are not opponents. The vice captain knelt on the ground and explained what had happened. So that's how you came back. Tuan Zhang walked down the steps and walked to the vice captain step by step. Compared with the slow footsteps, the vice captain's heart beat violently, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he replied hard. Yes. Danzo-sama. You shouldn't have come back. Tuan Zhang's tone was aggravated. It was already difficult to hide the murderous aura. For him, the subordinates who could not complete the task were worthless. His tone was calm and he said in a deep voice, you should fight to the death to kill the remnants of the Shao organization, instead of running back like a dog with your tail between your legs. Quote. Danzo-sama, I'm afraid that the other party will keep our corpses, and then Hanzo-sama will find trouble for you. The vice captain's back was already wet with sweat, and the huge psychological pressure was so oppressive that he did not dare to gasp, and hurriedly made up. In addition, before the captain died, he said the 3 words of Flying Thunder God, then Pain should be caught off guard by the captain who hit with Flying Thunder God. Flying Thor. Is it Watergate? If it is him, he does have this strength. But he should be in the middle of the battle with Wu Yin now. There is no time to withdraw, and there is no reason to do so. When Tuan Zhang heard this, he stopped the killing intent in his heart, and when he wanted to say Flying Thunder God, the first thing he remembered was the Wave Feng Shui Gate. The vice captain walked through the Ghost Gate, his speech quickened, and added, by the way, our attacks all penetrate Pain's body, and we can't hit him at all. Danzo turned his back and looked suspicious, and many strong people in the ninja world flashed in his mind. Can't match the Pain described by the vice captain, could it be Hanzo's subordinates? Wait a minute. Penetrate. Suddenly, his pupils constricted, reminiscent of the Easter egg of the second act exposed in that video. I know who it is. He showed up. The corners of Tuan Zhang's mouth outlined a smile, and he was in a good mood. A ploy appeared in his mind. You have provided information meritoriously, spared you the death penalty, and promoted to captain. Hitting a stick and then giving a sweet date is a trick used by Tuanzang to establish prestige and buy people's hearts. Thank you, Master Tuanzang, for your humble position. The vice captain knelt on his legs and kowtowed and shouted. Yahiko returns to the cave with Obito. Obito placed the big Buddha on his back on the ground, panting slightly. Yahiko, what's going on? Boss, what's wrong? Nagato, Konan, led everyone to ask, even Hadosuke wanted to struggle to get up, but was held down by Kana. That stronghold was exposed, we were ambushed, fortunately Pain made a move, otherwise the whole army would be destroyed. Yahiko's face darkened, his tone was heavy, and the more he thought about it, the more afraid he became. Pain. Nagato looked at Obito with a suspicious look, and Konan's eyes were also filled with curiosity. Who would take Pain for their own name? Grandly introduced, this is our lifesaver. Pain. He is like-minded with us, and I have decided to let him join the organization and become a part of us. Yahiko turned sideways and enthusiastically introduced Obito to everyone. Hello everyone. My name is Pain, Xiao's name is Thunderous, it is my honor to join Xiao, please take care of me in the future. Obito bowed and said slowly. On the way back, he and Yahiko exchanged ideas about peace. Yahiko said, "It is not necessary to rely on force to make each other understand the pain points of war, and it may be possible to understand each other through dialogue." He said, "Forcing people into submission by force and maintaining order through violence is not peace." The two hit it off, and Obito also proposed to join Shao. Yahiko agreed at the time, and a strong and peace-loving person like Pain was the talent that the organization dreamed of. Yahiko then arranged for the wounded to be treated, and he sat with Nagato and Konan, and Obito. Xiaonan said that he wanted to ask Pain. "Pain, although it is very inappropriate to ask this question, but it was midnight, why did you appear on the scene?" Xiaonan spoke softly, but his eyes looked directly into Obito's eyes. Nagato is the same, it is the second half of the night, most people are sleeping, but how did Pain just appear and save Yahiko? Xiaonan was really clever and found something suspicious. Obito heart rode. Hey, what do you mean? Pain is my lifesaver, don't you doubt him? Yahiko shouted angrily. Konam and Nagato are unmoved, Yahiko is too kind and too easy to trust others. But now is a special period, if a treacherous person is mixed in the organization, it will be a devastating hidden danger for Shao. Obito had already thought of the words, did not dodge and looked at Xiaonan, and replied, "I happened to be sleeping nearby, and when I heard the sound of fighting, I rushed over." Although Xiaonan was suspicious, she didn't want to ask again, she was afraid of upsetting Yahiko. Is that so? The doubt in Nagato's eyes did not retreat. He always believed that there were not so many coincidences in this world. Nagato, Konan, do you know how dangerous the situation was? If Pain arrives one step late, we will be annihilated. Yahiko repeated the faceless masked man's words. After Xiaonan and Nagato listened, their reactions were different. Xiaonan analyzed. So, the other party's target is Nagato. To be precise, it should be Nagato's eyes. In fact, Nagato's eyes have always been coveted, and the other party clearly said that he wanted to keep his mouth alive, and most of them also took a fancy to these eyes. Yahiko agreed. Because of these eyes, Yahiko and everyone who almost killed lost their lives. Nagato suddenly lost control of his emotions and wanted to pull his eyes off excitedly. Yahiko and Konan, who hurried forward to stop it. Obito looked at Nagato's crazy appearance, his eyes wandering, thoughtful. Being so beaten, everyone is no longer entangled in the identity of Obito. Obito also joined the Shao organization as he wished. At night, the lonely Afei is accompanied by the starry sky. He stood at the foot of the cave and looked up longingly, hoping that he would bring the soil down and take him into the cave. Obito, it must be very lively on it. I want to go up too. Fei muttered, wanting to cry into tears. Not long ago, Obito told him not to show his head, and then left him to find a new partner. In this world, only the new people laugh, where can I see the old people crying? It was drizzling again in the sky. The rain fell and flowed into Fei's body from the eye hole. This is how tears flow into the bottom of my heart. Fei covered the position of his chest, which was empty, but he felt pain. How about I go back and find Madara? Heavy rain and strong winds. The sky was covered with dark clouds, thunder roared, and the dark sky seemed to collapse. Tuanzang took his men to Yuyan village, the mansion of Hanzo of the mountain pepperfish. What is Konoha's Danzo looking for me? Hanzo closed the book and frowned, he had no good impression of Danzo. This person was a thief and a mouse, and he was not a good bird at first glance. Tuan Zhang said, there are important matters to discuss. In that case, let's go and meet you. Tuan Zhang was wearing a military uniform, and he was standing in the heavy rain at the moment, letting the heavy rain lap on his body, and his body was not moving. He saw Hanzo coming and greeted, Hanzo-sama, how are you doing? Quote. Your Excellency, what are you here for? Hanzo didn't want to greet him, and asked straight to the point. Because he noticed that there were more than a dozen body bags behind the regiment's hiding. These are the corpses of the villagers of Yuyan. There was no way to get it out. Quote. It's because it's Hanzo-sama's clan that I sent them here. Tuan Zhang's tone was full of regret, and he seemed to blame himself for not being able to arrive in time to save the villagers of Yuyan. Your Excellency Tuan Zhang, have you seen the prisoner? Hanzo asked, already moved by real anger. How dare someone kill under their noses? It is clear that you do not put yourself in the eyes. I'm afraid it's Don. Tuan Zhang looked embarrassed and said hesitantly. Is it Xiao? They don't look like people who will do anything to the villagers. Hanzo's hoarse voice sounded, with a hint of skepticism in his tone. Although he ordered a wanted member of the village because of the existence of future images, he was still deeply suspicious of Tuanzo's words. Hanzo-sama, you let them go too far. Tuan Zhang said in the rain. Under the banner of implementing ideals, they recruit high-sounding soldiers, and desire will drive them to turn into ghosts and take away your rights. If you continue to indulge, they will become a hidden danger of Yuyan. Will threaten you. At the end of the day, you'll find that they're just a bunch of rats trying to subvert the village. Hanzo-sama. Don't you know it, that Fei, who is about to declare war on the ninja world, has joined Xiao. If this continues, sooner or later your village will be taken away by them. Tuan Zhang said word by word, bitterly persuading. Hanzo still didn't believe it, he wouldn't be provoked by 3 words, and said, Danzo, I heard that Yahiko is your Konoha Jiraiya's disciple. This matter has nothing to do with my Konoha, and Hanzo-sama can just go and investigate. Tuanzo's pledge. He had already done it cleanly, and Hanzo just wanted to investigate, and there was no way to find out. Fortunately, I originally wanted to dispose of Xiao to show the world, but I couldn't find their hiding place. Do you have information? Hanzo weighed the pros and cons and made up his mind. It doesn't matter if it is the villagers who Xiao killed, the important thing is that Xiao's current momentum will indeed affect his rule. It is better to take this opportunity to get rid of Xiao. In this way, even if you kill by mistake, you can blame everything on Konoha. Tuan Zhang saw that the fish was hooked and said, I have a plan, I can let the Xiao organization throw itself into the net. Quote. Oh. Say it and listen. Quote. The two hit it off. Meanwhile. Above Yuyan village, a crystal screen reappeared, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Strangely, Rao is pouring rain and can't leave the slightest watermark on the screen. Boss, look, that screen has appeared again. Today, the rain was heavy, and none of the members of the Xiao organization went out, nestled in the cave and roasted a fire. This screen came at the right time, I just wanted to have some fun. Hatosuke's words reached the heart of everyone. Everyone was intrigued, after all. The future is closely related to everyone. Only Obito's head is big for a while, because every time this screen appears, it will expose the evil things he did in his previous life. If everyone here knew that he had used cuttings to nail them all to the ground, this organization would have no place of its own. Pain, what's wrong with you? Yahiko sensed that Obito's face was wrong and said with concern. Obito smiled wryly and shook his head, indicating that he was fine. The big Buddha provoked the topic. Guess what will this Fei do this time? Everyone was talking about it instantly. Maybe it's the shadow of a village. Then I guess it's Konoha. Last time he teased Konoha's people. I think it might be another capture of a certain tailed beast. After all, he threatened to collect 9 tailed beasts. I rather want to see his Dirt Legion. I heard that it is an immortal existence. By the way, he still has the Monster Legion, what's it called? White Absolute. Whatever he does, I hope he doesn't play the banner of our know-how. We are clearly peace-loving, how can we get to him? It becomes like a declaration of war in the world. Tianjin Kana complained. As soon as these words came out, the topic instantly changed from video content to verbal criticism of Fei. Obito listened to the group scolding the 3 generations of Fei's ancestors, shrugged his shoulders, and secretly said in his heart. They scolded Fei, what happened to me Yuzebo and 2? At this time, familiar words appeared on the screen in the sky. Act 3. 600 billion detonation charms. Masked Man vs Xiao No White Tiger Xiaonan. Shocked. Sluggish, the whole opium was silent. What the heck? Eat melons to your own home. Everyone turned their attention to Xiaonan's body. Yahiko also ignored everyone's gaze and nervously took Xiaonan's hand. I'm okay. Xiaonan has long looked down on life and death, so he is very calm. Instead, she was curious about what her future would look like. Start playing. In the animation. Rain hidden village, there is still heavy rain in the sky. The masked man stood on the roof with his back to Xiaonan. Xiaonan's body turned into pieces of paper, and the pieces of paper turned into butterflies flying in the sky. The butterfly flew lightly to the sea outside Yuyan village, and reunited into Xiaonan's figure on a broken wall. The masked man appeared in his right eye, sucked his entire figure into it, and then also appeared on the sea. Xiaonan took the lead in attacking, and several sharp paper shurikens cut through the long sky and flew towards the masked man at great speed. The masked man stood in place, not dodging or dodging, and the paper shuriken all penetrated his body and fell into the river. Quote. Don't underestimate the pupil power of the Uchiha clan, little girl. The masked man's low and hoarse voice sounded. Xiaonan's expression froze, soared into the air, paper wings spread out from both shoulders, and the whole person was like a paper angel. She leaned over and impacted, and her figure turned into countless pieces of paper, drowning the masked man. The masked man's right eye flashed with red eyes. Here. Then he pinched Xiaonan's neck, and the vortex of distorting time and space sucked all the surrounding pieces of paper. Unexpectedly, the pieces of paper in the sky are all detonators. So, with the whirlpool as the center, I saw a flash of white light, and a shocking explosion resounded in the sky, with a huge momentum, covering the thunder. After the explosion, the burning embers on the paper fell into the river, and on the large river were also floating fragments of Xiangyan's robe and half a swirling mask. Win. Sister Xiaonan won. Everyone in the Xiao organization rejoiced that the masked man was killed by Miss Xiaonan. But they apparently rejoiced too sooner. It turns out that the mask is not so easily knocked down. Because the image on the screen does not stop playing, the battle continues. In the animation, the masked man appears in the world's sight again, but he looks quite embarrassed. Not only the mask on his face is missing a quarter of the upper right corner, but even his right arm has been blown up. Xiaonan also floated in midair, exhaling Fang Lan. She expected the enemy to take the lead, guessing that the masked man would use a vortex to absorb his own pieces of paper, so she used the detonation charm to hide in it. Everything went according to her expectations, but she didn't think that the masked man had rich combat experience and directly diffused her attack. Her physical strength and chakra have also consumed a lot. This time in the fight, she is obviously at a disadvantage. The masked man said proudly. The whole explosion was absorbed and transferred by me. It was me who was one step faster, and I was slightly injured. Thanks to my blessing, even you were saved. So, thank me. In the face of absolute strength, any trickery is useless. Xiaonan was not frustrated by the masked man's words, and a determined gaze shot out from his orange pupils. She stretched out her finger to the masked man and judged. You are darkness, in a world without light, flowers can only wither. As soon as the words fell, the masked man's right eye widened, and the blood chakra's eyes were full of disbelief. A bad premonition enveloped him, and he sensed a danger that could affect his life. See where the man in the face suddenly changed, split from the middle, and turned into two huge paper walls, the length of which extended to the end of the sea, and the depth was enough to create a black abyss. In the next instant, the paper wall slowly separated to the sides, and the masked man on it fell into the bottomless black giant abyss like an ant falling off a cliff. Oh my god! This spectacular scene caused everyone to exclaim. Not only the members of Xiao, but the entire ninja world was greatly shocked. The sole of the masked man's feet is not supported, and his body is in free fall due to inertia. In the process of falling, he saw the countless papers on the paper wall like heavy rain, leaning towards the abyss, and he was directly above the abyss, which was naturally inevitable. Not good. The masked man held the mask with his left hand, and a swirling mask appeared in his right eye, as if to inhale his body into it. Won't let you escape. Xiaonan was condescending, and with a wave of his jade hand, countless pieces of paper were attached to his body before the masked male figure disappeared. That's a detonation charm. The masked man had no choice but to stop the whirlpool. Subsequently, the detonation charms attached to his body exploded one after another, engulfing his body again. Xiaonan was like an angel judging evil spirits, and said coldly, time and space movement seems to have failed. I gave up the time jump and had to change to bokeh mode, otherwise, I might really be finished. The masked man had difficulty controlling his falling body and marveled. As if seeing through everything, Xiaonan added, and your ability to penetrate matter can last for up to 5 minutes. As soon as her words fell, the masked man felt that something was wrong, and no one had ever been able to see through his virtual ability. Then, he was shocked to find that the paper walls on both sides were actually plastered with detonation charms. No, the paper walls on both sides were clearly made of countless detonation charms overlapped and added. This is the 600 billion detonation charm I specially prepared to kill you, which can last for 10 minutes. Xiao Nan's gaze was fierce and murderous. Not good. The masked man exhaled secretly, and the red glow in his pupils shone. As Xiao Nan shouted, the detonating talisman paper sea began to explode in a chain, and the explosion was earth-shattering, lasting for 10 minutes, and the masked man was in trouble. Xiao Nan was almost overdrawn, as if the weight was lifted. In this way, Madara will definitely. It will be death. A deep voice sounded from behind Xiao Nan, and the figure of the man behind slowly appeared from behind her. At this moment, he is more embarrassed than ever. His left eye looks blind, and his clothes are blown up and worn, but he survived. Xiao Nan's pupils contracted suddenly, and he couldn't figure out how the evil ghost survived, and teleported behind him. Isn't it? None of this is dead. 600 billion detonation charms didn't kill him. What kind of monster is this? The members of the Xiao organization who were present wailed, and when they saw Miss Xiao Nan forcing Na Uchiha into a corner, and then detonating the sea of paper, they thought that they were in control. I didn't expect this to kill the masked man. A steel pipe pierced Xiao Nan's body, and the scarlet blood couldn't stop dripping down and merged into the water under his feet. Xiao Nan said in disbelief, almost desperate, "Why? You should be dead. I've simulated it many times, and in this order, I'll definitely be able to beat you." The masked man patiently explained, "Izanagi, Uchiha and Senju, only those who have acquired the ability of both at the same time can use the Hitomi technique. Uchiha and Senju, the abilities of both." Xiao Nan muttered, quickly broke free from the steel pipe, and ran forward, blood gushing out along with the blood hole in his body. Xiao Nan still didn't want to give up. She stretched out her hands and raised them above her head, and a paper wheel converged, spinning at high speed. "It doesn't matter if I dissipate with the wind, but I'm going to take you here." Before she finished speaking, how could the masked man give her a chance to directly rush over? Xiao Nan threw out the paper wheel above his head, which rotated at high speed, cutting everything, and swirling towards the masked man. The masked man was sideways to dodge, but unexpectedly, another paper wheel flew over, and he had to jump into the air. The two paper wheels did not hit the target, and then turned into paper shurikens and flew towards the masked man in the air. The masked man's hands danced extremely fast, shooting down all the shurikens that rotated at high speed, and the black rod in his hand was overwhelmed and cut in two. The masked man faced the paper shuriken, leaned over and fell towards Xiaonan, and then in a bounce on the water, he choked Xiaonan's throat and lifted him. "You said I was dark, right?" The masked man choked Xiaonan's throat. The angel was choked by the throat, his legs rubbed weakly in midair, and behind him was a rainbow. It didn't take long for the beautiful eyes to gradually lose their radiance, and the rainbow in the eyes gradually disappeared. The picture stopped abruptly. Xiao Nan is still dead. Xiao Nan died, and the rain in Yuyan village stopped. Her blood-stained body fell to the surface of the sea and slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. A blood-colored piece of paper floated out of his body, floating over the rainbow in the sky, floating for a long, long time. It eventually falls into a wooden house covered with green vines. This is where the trio originally agreed. "We will start from here to realize our dreams, and when our dreams come true, even if we are apart, we will come back here." The blood paper finally fell on Xiao Nan's nameplate. Beside him, Nagato and Yahiko's nameplates also turned to the red side. On the far right is Konan, in the center is Yahiko, and on the far left is Nagato. This one is called the frog board, the front is red, and the back is white. When you go out, you turn it white, and white means to remember to come back. Red means home. They ended up going home together. Inside the cave. How can there be such ninjutsu as Izanagi? Can it bring people back from the dead? Hatosuke. I don't care, if you want to hurt Miss Konan, you have to step over my corpse. Quote. The atmosphere dropped to freezing, and everyone's mood was extremely low. At this time, the announcement sounded, and the routine prize quiz began after the video was played. Let's move on to the prize quiz session. Question. Being a member of the Xiao organization, the most direct reason for the fight between the Masked Man and Xiao Nanda. A. After Nagato's death, Konam and the Masked Man simultaneously compete for control of the Xiao organization. B. After Nagato's death, the Masked Man cleans up the portal for Xiao and cleans up the traitors. C. After Nagato's death, Conan, in order to avenge Nagato, angrily shot at the Masked Man. D. After Nagato's death, Conan's evil conversion and refuses to give the Eye of Reincarnation to the Masked Man. The discussion group is open, limited to 5 minutes. Please make your choice in time. 3 correct answers will be drawn and rewards will be awarded. The system broadcast was suspended, and the discussion group that had been silent for a long time became lively again. Yenian artist. Oh my god, this 600 billion detonation talisman is really a stroke of God, what a gorgeous and wonderful scene. This is the real art. Yenian artist. Xiaonan, tomorrow I will go to the Xiao organization to find you, wait for me. Yan. Yin Leg Shadow. Senior brother, don't be crazy here, it's a shame. Passerby. Guys, the topic this time is a bit difficult. Who is Nagato? Why did he die? What is the Eye of Reincarnation? Has anyone introduced me? Quote. Konoha's root. Nagato is the second in command of the Xiao organization. The Eye of Reincarnation is the legendary eye, known as the eye that controls life and death, and the rarity is still above the blood chakra eye. Quote. Konoha handsome guy. Big guy 666. Quote. Everyone. Big guy 666. With Konoha's root explanation, everyone has a clear understanding of this problem and begins to analyze it. The joys and sorrows of human beings are different, and compared with the bustle of the discussion group, there is a dead silence in the cave at this time. Not only Conan, but even Nagato will die. The members of the show organization collapsed, and Tianjin Kana leaned on Hadosuke's shoulder and sobbed. Abominable. Fake. This image must be fake. How did Nagato and Conan die? Yahiko pounded the wall uncontrollably, tears welling up in her eyes. The boy does not flick tears, but it is not yet sad. A video pronounces the death penalty of both a friend and a lover, which is difficult for anyone to accept. It's okay Yahiko, even if it's true, it's a future thing, which means that we will all live in peace and sound for the next time. Nagato and Conan, who were the parties concerned, said with relief. Feeling this sad atmosphere, Obito sighed. Only by feeling it personally could he deeply appreciate how much sorrow he brought to everyone in his previous life. You know, in his previous life, he not only killed Xiaonan, but also used the art of cuttings to kill everyone present except Nagato and Yahiko. What a crime. Bring dirt to the guys. Perhaps, fate arranged for his rebirth to atone for his profound sins. He couldn't help but think. At this time, the sound of the broadcast sounded again. Please make your choice within 1 minute. Usually. At this time, the members of the Xiao organization gather together to choose the answer together. Now in this atmosphere, everyone is not in the mood to discuss. Let's choose C. Maybe Nagato was killed by the hateful Masked Man. According to Miss Xiaonan's character, he will definitely go to the Masked Man to take revenge. Patio Kana Glutinous Road. Everyone also agreed, and now it doesn't matter what you choose. At this moment, a discordant voice sounded. Pick D. Everyone followed the prestige. It was Pain, who had just joined the organization. Obito saw that everyone looked at him and explained. C has a misleading tendency, does not fit Xiaonan's character. In short, choose D first. Obito is a little helpless. He knows the standard answer, but he can't say it explicitly. He can only start from the answer and reverse exclude. Everyone saw his determined appearance, and the herd mentality made them all choose D. When the answer time is up, the correct answer will be announced now. D. That's right. This Pain, there are 2 brushes. Everyone looked at Pain differently. Winners are now announcing their prizes. Congratulations to Xiaonan for winning the reward. Paper mystery has been improved. Congratulations to Konoha's root for receiving the reward. Still old but old. Note. Restore youth, immortality, physical functions will remain youthful forever until the end of life. Congratulations to Uchiha for getting the reward. The power of 1,000 hands. Discussion. Group. Iwane artist. Oh. My Xiaonan won the lottery. I also won the lottery, we really matched. Hanahasuke. Do you eat oil cakes? Quote. And Uchiha Madara. How did he get drawn every time? Also say that there is no shady scene. What is it this time? The power of 1,000 hands. So can he use Izanagi? Shish. Just that 600 billion detonation talismans that can't be blown up. The difference between people and people is so big, Uchiha is really fooled. The discussion group denounced Uchiha as usual. At this time, someone noticed the reward received by Konoha's root. Onoki. Can the roots of Konoha really regain their youth? Yenian artist. Yo, master, blew you up. Onoki. Shut up. Go to the confinement room and stay, don't run around without my orders. Quote. Iwane artist. Konoha's root. It's true, the old man is back to 20 years old. As soon as these words came out, they immediately caused an uproar. Passerby. I'm rough, envious. Wouldn't that never be the golden gun? Konoha handsome guy. Harvest the taste, brother. Konoha blue beast. Can you always maintain the vitality of youth? Oh, my god. Why wasn't it me? Onoki. It looks like the roots of Konoha are about to sprout. Accompanied by a sound of drop. Discussion group closed. No one knows how excited Tuanzo is at this moment. Looking at myself in the mirror, I look like a 20-year-old. Waving your arms, moving your muscles, familiar and unfamiliar feelings. The biggest regret in life is that I can't have youth and feelings about youth at the same time. The Tuanzang at this moment undoubtedly makes up for this regret. Immortality. How many people's dreams since ancient times? In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Tuanzang's mind. Richo, what are you fighting with me now? No, Konoha is no longer enough for me to fulfill my ambitions, my goal is the entire ninja world. Teacher, I will prove to you that you chose the wrong person in the first place. The only person who can lead Konoha to the top is I, Shimura Danzo. This trip to Yuyin is over. When I go back, I will impeach the Japanese / and become the Hokage. This is just the beginning. But before that, if I can get the Eye of Reincarnation, I can explore life and death, plus immortality. Power, strength, ideal ambition, family glory. It's all possible. Thinking of this, my heart beats. His eyes suddenly shot with essence, and his loud laughter came from the bedroom. Opportunities are always reserved for those who are prepared, and this time, it's finally my turn. This is, intercolumnar cells. The rewards issued by the system arrived quickly. Under the auspicious cloud robe, the body with soil was rapidly transformed by the cells between the columns, and the abnormal changes in the body were covered by the robe, and no one noticed it. Unlike the transplanted artificial meat in the previous life, Obito felt that there was no rejection in the body, indicating that the fusion was going very smoothly. The most important thing is that there is no interpillar face on the chest like Uchiha. Out of thin air, a familiar and huge life force poured in, tearing muscle fibers repeatedly and constantly contributing to repair. After a while, the suddenly swollen muscles squeezed the bones, making a slight, crackling sound. Obito borrowed ahead and left the cave. The members of Xiao's organization were immersed in grief and naturally had no time to pay attention to him. In a wasteland far from the cave, Obito took off his robe and let the heavy rain wash over his body. The strength has increased, the body's energy has been greatly improved, and chakra's control and resilience have increased. Obito punched out, and the fist wrapped around chakra directly smashed the stone in front of him into pieces, and the huge countershock force was easily dissolved by the muscles. Then, he picked up a piece of gravel with sharp edges and cut his arm. I saw a burst of heat appear, the wound healed quickly, and it didn't take long to heal quickly, recovering as before, not even leaving a scar. Depending on the severity of the wound, the consumption of chakra is also different. Of course, if it is a fatal injury in an instant, I am afraid that it will not be able to return to the sky. All in all, the intercolumnar cells increase more to the body than in previous lives, and there are almost no side effects. Obito felt that the strength brought by the bloodline of the Thousand Hands now alone must be higher than that of the ordinary Thousand Hands clan, even than the granddaughter Tsunade between the pillars, it was not too much. The power of ninjutsu has also increased considerably, about 40%. The amount of chakra consumed has also decreased. Quote. Obito unleashed a fireball technique. The hot fireball melts the rock in front of it into magma, slowly flows to the ground, blends with the stagnant water on the ground, and then the magma cools rapidly, and the color also turns from red to black. No wonder the Ninja Realm Alliance has to use several elite Shangnin's water escape to resist the How Fireball technique of Madara, and it is even incompetent. Of course, Obito thinks that the increase in ninjutsu now must be less than Madara. After all, Madara had intercolumnar cells, dirt infinite chakra, and kaleidoscope blood chakra eyes at that time. Then Obito tried the pupil technique of Shuang Shenwei. The first is the right eye Shenwei, allowing itself to transfer between the two spaces, and can also suck everything into the Shenwei space. In the eyes of outsiders, the effect caused by the right eye Shenwei is similar to body blurring, penetrating the real thing, but in fact, Obito transfers the attacked part of the body to the Shenwei space at the moment of being attacked, so as to avoid damage. Therefore, the decisive factor lies in Obito's reaction speed, anticipation ability, and Kamui's own transfer speed. Obito's body moved back and forth between the real space and the Kamui space, calculating the speed. Shuang Shenwei can speed up the speed of transfer, and with the blessing of the cells between the columns, the transfer time is less than half a second. Gee, if he had this speed in his previous life, even if he was the flying thunder god of the Watergate teacher, he might be able to barely resist. Then came the power of the left eye. The left eye Shenwei can forcibly twist the enemy's limb and send it into the Shenwei space from a distance. Obito's gaze focused on a boulder in front of him, and a space-time vortex appeared out of thin air at the focal point, distorting everything. That huge hard boulder was sucked into the divine power space. Then he tried different distances and different large objects. Finally, it is concluded that the volume of action increases, and the distance is also improved. Moreover, after exerting divine power, the load on the blood chakra eye is significantly reduced. The twin god's blood wheel eye has greatly reduced the time spent on transfer, and now with the blessing of the power of 1,000 hands, it is like a tiger with wings. In addition, the consumption of chakra has also been greatly reduced, and the speed of pupil recovery has also doubled. Gotta find a chance to go to the Uchiha clan field to get a few blood chakra eyes. Quote. According to Obito's memories of his previous life, the Uchiha family has collected a lot of the late Uchiha's blood chakra eyes. In this life, of course, he will not slaughter his own people again. But if necessary, borrow a few blood chakra eyes from the warehouse, it's not much wrong, right? The so-called good harvest means that when you see the benefits, you must take them away in time. Finally, Mu Duan. The most important ability brought by the intercolumn cells is the wood-blood succession limit. In the previous life, the 1,000-hand pillar developed the wooden dun to the extreme, so that every time Madara felt that he had become stronger and came to challenge with confidence, he was beaten on the ground by the wooden dun between the pillars. Their own wooden dun is not comparable to the pillars, and it can also play an auxiliary role at critical times. Obito experimented with the wooden dun that he had developed in his previous life one by one, and used some of the wooden dun that he learned from Yamato. If you add Fei, it should be possible to cast more powerful Mu Duan. With the earth jaw-headed, he suddenly found that he hadn't seen Fei for several days. Yo! Are you thinking about me? Saying that Cao Cao arrived, Fei appeared in front of him with a gorgeous backflip. Without waiting for Obito to ask, Fei said as if he were offering a treasure, Obito, guess what's wrong with him? I don't guess. Guess what? Guess what? I don't want to guess. Count me begging you, guess if it's good. But I ran all the way to a place and learned about it from the aloe vera white guy. Obito said angrily, what's wrong? He's dead. Quote. Huh. How do you know? Quote. Fei retreated in horror. He wanted to sell a pass, but he didn't expect that Obito was actually a prophet. This guy with soil, really concealed himself, secretly became smart. In addition to waiting for death, can that old man go to heaven? Obito's face was expressionless, but his heart was mixed. I don't know what the next time I meet Madara will be like. However, counting the time of Madara dying even predates his previous life. I don't know what tricks are hidden in this. Now play the third act Easter egg. In a spacious and bright hall, Nagato's corpse lies with his hands folded and lying among the paper flowers. The masked man stood up with his broken body and looked down at Nagato's body. You are the third six. He looked at Nagato's shriveled corpse and thoughtfully, the redhead is proof that he is a descendant of the Uzumaki clan, but the power of the Eye of Reincarnation has almost sucked him dry. And a vortex appeared in the eyes of the man in the back, sucking Nagato's corpse into the mysterious space. At this moment, the entire ninja world knew the preciousness of the Eye of Reincarnation. And, where the Eye of Reincarnation is. This video is played, this 3 battles, I'm afraid it won't end so early. Obito looked at the Easter egg of Act 3 in the sky, and his thoughts were full of thoughts. That Konoha's route should be Shimura Danzo. If it were him, it wouldn't be surprising to know some information about the Eye of Reincarnation, but he just deliberately explained it in the discussion group, and the purpose is not so simple. Tuan Zhang is a person who is suspicious, insidious, unprofitable, and always talks about righteousness, but when it is really his turn, he runs faster than anyone. This can be seen by Obito from the meeting of the 5 shadows in the previous life, when Tuan Zhang sensed that something was wrong, and directly left the other 4 shadows and slipped away. The land of rain and the land of fire are adjacent to each other, and it just so happens that there is a character like Hanzo. I think Tuanzo wants to direct the eyes of the ninja world to Yuyin, and after muddying the water here, he is so troubled to fish. Obito thought a little, and speculated approximately. He also has a share in the reward this time, which shows that he correctly calculated the future. And in the limited intelligence, he can calculate the future, which is worthy of Konoha's dark shadow, and he is wise and calculated. Still old but old, eternal youth, immortality. Kind of interesting. Quote. Obito remembered Danzo in his previous life, who was close to 70 years old, and he could still fight against Sasuke Uchiha in his prime. If it were changed to now, Danzo, who returned to his youth, would fight against Sasuke again. Without the help of Xiongling and others, the result would be really difficult to say. Although the ability of the group to hide is very dirty, but the current ninja world is like this, the winner is the king, the loser is the Su, that is, the iron rule of the ninja world. The roots of Konoha are about to sprout. The headache is also 3 generations of Hokage and Watergate teachers. For now, I have to solve Hanzo for Yahiko and them first. Obito instructed Fei to clean up his surroundings, and then patted his butt and returned to the Xiao organization's den. Leaving Fei with a dull expression, Obito, I'm here to monitor you, not to serve you. All the same. At this time, a paper angel soared in the sky, and it was Xiao Nan who was showing everyone the art of paper escape by leaps and bounds. I saw her spread her paper wings like in the video, and the flying pieces of paper slowly fell from the wings like goose feathers and fine snow. The people watching below were amazed. Flying is always a human dream. This gorgeous scene really diluted their sad and low mood. For the next few days, Obito stayed with the Xiao organization. Until the early morning of the day, Obito was woken up by the sound of crackled footsteps. Pain, get up and get ready, Miss Xiaonan was captured by Hanzo, we have to hurry to the rescue. Here it comes. Obito's eyes shine brightly, this day is still coming. In a previous life, Hanzo captured Konan, forcing Nagato to kill Yahiko. Yahiko expected that Nagato would not be able to get his hands off, so he ran into the kunai in Nagato's hands, just as Rin herself crashed into Kakashi's ratchet. But I didn't expect that Xiaonan, whose strength had been strengthened, still fell into Hanzo's hands. It shows Hanzo's strength. He remembered that Hanzo was on the list of prizes for the first quizet. Immortal Chakra. I don't know which holy place it belongs to. Obito recalled the information about the 3 holy places. They are Myomu Mountain, Longdi Cave, and Wet Bone Forest. The 3 holy places have a long history and existed long before the fall of the Great Tube of Wood Kagaya. Its power system is very different from chakra, which is formed by balancing physical energy and mental energy. Immortal Art, on the other hand, directly incorporates the natural energy around you into the body, and then combines the power of your own physical energy and spiritual energy. There is no difference between the two, but compared to ninjutsu, there are very few people who can know immortal arts, but everyone who knows immortal arts is a strong party, and the strength should not be underestimated. In the previous life, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Naruto, Hood and others, each of them was a shadow level, even super shadow level strength. On the way to his destination, Hatosuke explains to Obito how Konan's arrest occurred. Last night, Xiaonan rushed to the 7th patrol area, where he was ambushed. The enemy placed several ninja corpses at the scene, and when Xiao Nan went to investigate, the poison gas bombs hidden in those corpses suddenly burst out, poisoning all the members of the Xiao organization including Xiao Nan to the ground. Only one person escaped by chance. After listening to Hatosuke's words, Obito knew in his heart, I'm afraid it's not a fluke, the enemy deliberately put him back and seduced Yahiko and Nagato to the rescue. Quote. It seems that the broadcast of the video has made these careerists want to move in advance. In my impression, this time it was a joint game between Tuanzo and Hanzo, in order to kill people and snatch the Eye of Reincarnation. If Danzo is also involved, then in addition to saving people, he must also hide his identity, otherwise Danzo will return to Konoha with his portrait to investigate. Rin and Kakashi will be implicated. Therefore, you have to be fully prepared. So Obito explained to Hatosuke, and took the opportunity to leave the Flying Thunder God technique on him. Then turn back in the direction of the cave again. This side. Although it was daytime, the clouds were dark and the rain was pouring. Patrol Area 7 is located on a wasteland with small hillsides on both sides, except for a low-lying wetland in the middle. Yahiko, I want you, the leader of Xiao, to die here. If you resist, this woman will not be able to live. Hanzo said, pressing a kunai handle against Conan's throat. The sharp bitterness cut through Xiao Nan's white swan neck, and a little blood flowed down, staining the ground red. Yahiko looked anxious, clenched his back teeth, and looked up at Hanzo and the others who were condescending. Despicable, shameless. Hanzo, old thief. There is a kind of fight down. The members of the Xiao organization scolded loudly. Hanzo was as stable as an old dog, unmoved, but threw the kunai forcefully down and threw it in front of Nagato. Hanzo's eyes flashed with a playful light, like a cat seeing a mouse. Red-haired boy, you are Nagato. You will kill Yahiko with this kunai. In that case, I will spare this woman and the rats behind you from dying. Nagato looked sluggish. How could he agree to such a request? Stop, Nagato. Leave me alone. Get out of here. Xiao Nan fell to his knees and shouted. Hanzo pulled her hair hard, raised her chin high, and slapped Conan's face hard in front of Yahiko. Snap. Xiao Nan was pumped to the ground, and because his hands were bound, his whole face threw himself into the muddy water on the ground. Yahiko could barely control herself. At this moment, he can't wait to cut Hanzo by 1,000 cuts. Hurry up, Nagato, are you asking Yahiko to die alone? Or do I kill this woman first, and then kill you all? Hanzo's eyes were fierce, and he asked Nagato to do the multiple choice question. In the end, all the subordinates around him had already raised their hands. Occupying a high terrain, if you move your hand, the members of the Xiao organization will fall a large piece in an instant. Nagato, let's do it. Kill me. Yahiko confessed, despair in his voice. Hurry up. Isn't the life of this woman and your other partners combined as much as Yahiko's? Hanzo's words were like sharp blades, slamming into Nagato's heart. Nagato, let's do it. Yahiko begged. He couldn't care for his life anymore. In his heart, as the leader of Xiao, he should also sacrifice himself for his partners. What's more, the other party still holds Xiaonan's life in his hands. Nagato's brain had stopped thinking, and the whole person was like a puppet, mechanically walking forward, bending down to pick up the kunai on the ground. Yahiko's pleas, Hanzo's persecution put him in front of a scale. On one side is Yahiko's life, on the other is the life of Conan's and other partners. The huge pressure in his heart made him stop thinking. At this moment, this world to him is the Asura purgatory field. He could no longer hear the voices around him, whether it was the shouts of his companions behind him or the mockery of his enemies standing on the cliff. Faintly, he also heard Xiao Nan's crying. Nagato no longer has a sense of autonomy. In a trance, he only saw Yahiko's figure rushing towards him, and the kunai in his hand was about to stab into his body. Nagato can only look desperately at the person who values the most in his life, and he is about to die tragically at his own hands. Suddenly, a back blocked Nagato's view. In the next second, I saw Yahiko's figure fly out upside down. Obito turned around and faced the 100 or so people on the cliff alone. He lowered his voice and said, word by word in a deep voice, today, no one has to die. Today, no one has to die. With the soil, the auspicious cloud robe moved with the wind. Pain. Yahiko, Nagato and the others exclaimed in surprise. At this moment, Obito was in their eyes, and his body was brilliant, like a savior. I'll talk about it later, I'll save people first. Obito wore a mask on his face and nodded at them. Flying Thunder God. Obito's figure turned into an afterimage, and appeared in front of Xiao Nan in the next second. Hanzo on the side was suddenly startled, like a frightened bird, and instantly catapulted 10 meters behind. Only then did the guards of Yuyan village react and surround the 3 layers of the soil and the outer 3 layers. Obito directly ignored the group of shrimp soldiers and crab generals, and instead set his sights on Tuan Zhang in the distance. This look, can't help but marvel, compared with the old man in the previous life who was weak and couldn't help the wind, walking with crutches, the Tuan Zhang at this moment can be called handsome. Kaleidoscope blood wheel eye. Tuan Zhang naturally noticed Obito's gaze, and those scarlet eyes made him even more terrified. Can fly Thunder God, and with kaleidoscopic blood wheel eyes, when did Uchiha come out with this number 1 figure, is he really Uchiha spot? Tuan Zhang was puzzled in his heart. But he has basically determined that the other party is from Uchiha, because the kaleidoscope blood chakra eye opening conditions are harsh, outsiders have to collect a pair of kaleidoscopes at the same time, the difficulty is comparable to ascending to the sky. It's just the pattern in his eyes, how come he has never seen it? Xiao Juju, who didn't know the group hiding in his heart, glanced at Xiao Nan lying on the ground, and said in his heart. It's good that I planted the Flying Thunder God technique on her in advance. Otherwise, it will take a lot of work. After quickly sucking Xiao Nan into the divine power space, Obito flashed again, passed through the encirclement, appeared next to Yahiko, and released Xiao Nan. Yahiko quickly stepped forward to untie Konan, and wiped the muddy water from her face. The joy of being lost and regained filled his heart at this moment. Chief, are you still fighting? Obito asked Asahi Yahiko. He is now a member of the Xiao organization, and the decision to go to war is in the hands of the leader Yahiko. Boss, fool him. The members behind him all looked indignant. Unexpectedly, Yahiko shook his head, and he got up and shouted. Hanzo, the Xiao organization believes in resolving disputes through dialogue, as long as you promise not to be embarrassed members in the future. Today's events, I can treat it as if it did not happen. As soon as these words came out, the members behind him looked incredulous, but they didn't expect Yahiko to swallow the evil breath of Shankai. Obito couldn't help but glance up at Yahiko, and Yahiko was indeed a natural leader, and in the face of great right and wrong, he could let go of his children's love. This made him think of Naruto Uzumaki in his previous life, and after Tendo Pain invaded Konoha, he could still let go of hatred. If it weren't for that, Nagato and Konan, they wouldn't have betrayed themselves at that time. At this moment, the images of Yahiko and Naruto unexpectedly coincided. The difference is that Naruto knocks the enemy down first and then escapes, while Yahiko directly retreats. The effect caused by the two is like a cloud of mud. Yahiko, do you think that with the guy next to you to support you, you will be able to talk to me? Hanzo really didn't buy it. Since he dared to set up an ambush here with Tuan Zhang, he naturally made all preparations. Although the strength of the masked man makes him deeply jealous, but what is he afraid of when his own people are dozens of times that of his opponent? Just like Tuan Zhang said, the other party has not fully grown up, and he has the strength to compete with him, and even kill him in the cradle. 10,000 steps back, why doesn't he have whole cards? Yahiko, dignity is only above the blade. Obito had to teach his leader a lesson. This. All right. Yahiko stepped back. At this time, he was only 15 years old, and he dared to stand in front of everyone, and he was already extremely courageous. It's a pity that he is too young and his strength is low, and it is difficult to convince the public. And not everyone is born like Madara. Young Lang's ideal ambition is tantamount to a fool's dream in the eyes of the world. Leave it to me. Yahiko. Quote. Obito took Yahiko, Nagato and the others into the Kamui space, so as not to fight for a while, and also have to be distracted to protect them. The difficulty between being a villain beating everyone to death with a stick and being decent but protecting everyone is very different. Obito now comprehended the pressure Naruto faced in his previous life. Hanzo, you are so afraid of dying a person, why did you come to this muddy water? It won't be anyone's rumors. Quote. Before Obito started fighting, he didn't forget to say some trash talk to make a noise about the relationship between the other party. When he was young, Hanzo was indeed a generation master. It is a pity that the hero is late, and he only wants to lie on the merit spectrum and enjoy glory and wealth, completely forgetting the ambitions of his youth. Even after seeing the rapidly rising Xiao organization, it is better to listen to rumors than to take the opportunity to get rid of dissidents. Heaven's iniquity is forgivable, and self-inflicted iniquity is not to live. Yahiko gave you a chance just now, you don't cherish it, now you don't have a chance. Obito continued to taunt, provoking the other party's mentality. Less nonsense, give it to me. Hanzo's face flashed with anger, and his face was hideous. Holding a high position all year round, who saw him without a respectful face? This rat in front of him mocked himself 5 times, just fool it. In that case, lead the neck to be killed. After Obito said this, he went straight to work. He turned into an afterimage and teleported to the crowd on the hillside. The opponent has many powerful people, and will definitely use the tactics of the sea of people. If you do not fight hand to hand, it is easy to get caught in combined ninjutsu. At that time, the other party will take turns to enlarge the range of ninjutsu, and when the time for his divine power penetration mode comes, he will inevitably be consumed alive. Shui Duan. Water Chaos. Quote. Tu Duan. Earth Stone Dragon. Shui Duan. Water Spout. Quote. As soon as Obito appeared, countless ninjutsu smashed into him, most of which were water escapes, and in this rainy weather, the power of water dun was strengthened. Mu Dun. Wooden Ingot Wall. Quote. A row of wooden columns bends from the ground to form an arch wall to protect the belt soil. With the blessing of the Vortex Cloak, the power has increased a lot. But it's still hard to resist the impact of many ninjutsu. Before he could resist for a second, he was washed into wood chips. Hanzo's subordinates fixed their eyes on the figure with soil in the same place. In heaven. Then someone shouted. Everyone looked up at the sky, and saw, Ah Fei, looking down on everyone with cold eyes, as if looking at a dead person. Mu Dun. Hell Chaos. Quote. Several thorny trees rise up and spiral upwards, strangling all the enemies who cannot be avoided. For a while, screams began one after another. The air is full of blood, and the ground is bleeding blood. Nani? Will you still be dead? Tuan. Zhang retreated back for a distance, secretly shocking in his heart. How many whole cards does this, a Fei, still have? Obito cleaned up a lot of people with the chaos of hell, and then fell to the ground. Next, it is a hand-to-hand fight, with the blessing of Ah Fei's vortex coat, coupled with the strength of 1,000 hands, the physical skills with soil are also extremely powerful. Mu Dun. Cuttings. Quote. Sharp wooden thorns pierced through the enemy's body, and hot blood splattered everywhere. After a while, Obito was covered in blood, like a demon in the world. Hanzo looked at the unusually brave Ah Fei in the crowd, and suddenly felt his scalp numb, and only then did he wake up. The lord in front of him, who dares to declare war on the entire ninja world, although Hanzo prides himself on not being a good class, but compared with others, he is really a small witch. At the same time, he found that the figure of Tuan Zhang was gone. Danzo, Konoha. Hanzo then knew that he had been placed by Danzo. I wanted to rely on the tactics of the sea of people to consume the other party's wave, but the other party killed more and more courageously, and various means emerged one after another. After a while, there were more than half fewer people on the field. And people are afraid of death. After Obito killed most of them, the remaining people did not dare to move forward, only dared to symbolically surround Obito, pretending to walk away. Obito has already killed them. Obito approached Hanzo step by step. Waste, it's all waste. Hanzo scolded, and then shouted, Immortal Mode, open. I saw a black circle dot operator-like pattern on his forehead, and black stripes appeared on his eyes. Hanzo's aura instantly became powerful and restrained. Obito looked at his appearance, and secretly said in his heart, no frog eyes, no horns on the head, indicating that it is not from the inheritance of Miaomu Mountain and Longdi Cave. Quote. Could it be the wet bone forest? Obito has never seen the immortal mode of the wet bone forest, but knows that Tsunade's slugs come from the wet bone forest, and I think it should strengthen his recovery ability. Rat Generation. Today I will kill you and make a name for yourself. Hanzo opened the immortal mode. His self-confidence swelled like never before, his hands pinched the seal, and he pressed it on the ground. Psychic art. Quote. White smoke flashed, and an ugly pepperfish appeared on the battlefield. I saw the pepperfish shaking its head, the purple poisonous mist in its mouth gathered, and a large purple mist sprayed towards the soil. Obito naturally can't stay in place stupidly, and Hanzo is best known for his ability to use poison. Once during World War II, he used this move to beat Konoha Sanshin extremely embarrassed. Obito temporarily retreated into the thick fog, and suddenly, he moved wisely, snatched the mask of Hanzo's men and put it on his face. After losing his gas mask, the subordinate suddenly bled and died in a short time. What a poisonous mist. Obito felt a chill in his heart. Within this poisonous mist range, I am invincible. Hanzo laughed proudly. Then the figure rushed over, accompanied by poisonous mist, and wrestled with Obito. Obito Chang held his breath and fought against him for a few moves, and his physical strength decreased extremely quickly. In the next instant, the mutation protruded. Hanzo's subordinates, who were still standing on the field, also fell to the ground in front of their eyes, not knowing whether they were dead or alive. How so? Aren't they wearing gas masks? Doubts flashed in Obito's heart. By the way, I heard that Hanzo was cut open when he was a child and stuffed a poisonous sac of a pepperfish into his body. Shouldn't it be in the immortal mode, which enhanced the toxicity? Years of combat experience allowed Obito to quickly analyze the reason, and felt that 8 or 9 were inseparable. In this case, the problem is tricky. Although he is pregnant with intercolumn cells and is immune to general poison, it is impossible to gamble with his life when he is not sure of the toxicity of the other party. Obito was dealing with Hanzo's fists and feet while thinking about countermeasures. The other party is carrying the fairy chakra, and he will definitely not be able to take it for a while, and when the time comes, he will inhale more poisonous gas, and most of the loss will be himself. And the other party's recovery ability is still above themselves. Ordinary injuries can't break the defense at all, can only find a way to kill the other party in seconds. Thinking of this, Obito's left eye flashed red. Kamui. A vortex of divine power suddenly appeared on Hanzo's head, and he was about to directly twist off the opponent's head. Hanzo, however, was aware of it, and directly flashed and escaped from the range of Kamui. Sure enough, in the immortal mode, the reaction speed has increased significantly, and although Shenwei can break the defense, it cannot focus accurately. Seeing that the divine power was in vain, it was not surprising to take the soil. Suddenly, the situation reached an impasse again. Haha, Fei, there's nothing to do. Wait to die. Hanzo laughed wildly on the side, but in fact, there was a huge wave in his heart. Fang Kai only felt that a mighty force twisted his head abruptly, and he was only close to twisting his head alive. Fortunately, with the blessing of the immortal mode, I reacted in time. Hanzo's eyes became more and more solemn, and he thought that from the first 3 exposures, he already had a clear understanding of the strength of Fei. I didn't expect the other party to have killing moves, which was really unpredictable. And the other party has been fighting for so long, there is no sign of detachment at all, chakra seems to be inexhaustible. Even his physical strength is that he can actually compete with himself who has opened the immortal mode. Hanzo was secretly frightened in his heart, and wondered what kind of terrifying existence he had provoked. The more so, the stronger his heart to kill Fei, at this moment, otherwise when the other party fully grows up, he will only have the life of being killed. At this moment, the momentum on Fei changed, and a terrifying aura spread. Nani? How many whole cards does this person have? Hanzo's pupils shrank a little, in disbelief. I saw a surging black chakra erupting from the body of the soil, as viscous as thick ink, shaking in the air like black monster tentacles. This black color is like a bottomless abyss, absorbing everything. Then the color of chakra gradually deepened, condensed from intangible to substance, and it was faintly visible that there was a prototype of skeleton. Then it was completely shaped into a black giant skeleton, and the black chakra on it shone with a crystal luster, as clear as black jade. It is very gorgeous, shining with a mysterious atmosphere. Before this was over, the black chakra continued to gush out, unexpectedly turning into the meridians and flesh and blood of the skeleton, and the chakra coat wrapped its body, and at the same time, a long knife of ink jade like an abyss appeared in his hand. Finally, a black crow tengu armor arms the whole body. The aura of destruction of the heavens and the earth rushed to the face, making everyone present tremble. Is this still a power that people can master? Hanzo was terrified to the extreme, feeling breathless. Standing in front of the tall Susanoo, he was like an ant. Susanoo's huge shadow enveloped him, and his heart almost stopped beating when he was oppressed. Susanoo, open. Obito drink. The inky jade-colored Susanoo stands on the cliff, his eyes shining with golden light, and he overlooks the world coldly, like a god of war who kills thousands of people. The vast breath burst out suddenly, swept out of the wind and rain, rippled in the boundless vast wilderness, and spread. Gods. This is the power of the gods. Hanzo's remnants raised their heads and said in fear. We surrender. Someone swallowed a mouthful of spit, put down his weapon and fell to his knees. Immediately caused a chain reaction, so powerful, how can manpower be rivaled? Obito was wrapped in Susanoo, and he felt as if he had become the master of this world. In the last life, he didn't have double kaleidoscope blood chakra eyes, and he never had the opportunity to activate Susanoo. Although in the end, Kakashi opened a complete body Susanoo instead of himself, in the end, it is not as good as experiencing it himself. This is pitch black like an abyss, is it the background color of Shinwei? Obito looked at his own Susanoo and muttered to himself. Susanoo's color is determined by the sorcerer chakra, but after attaching Kamui, everything turns black, like Rachel of Kakashi in the previous life. Obito looked at Hanzo below, his eyes crossed with icy color. And said, Hanzo, behead your sword named Kamui. Unexpectedly, Hanzo's legs went limp, and he knelt down and begged for mercy. I am willing to serve you as the Lord, and Yuyan will be driven by you in the future, only to spare my life. Quote. At this moment, he does not have the majesty of the leader of Yuyan village, just like an old man who has been eroded by the wind, looking forward to prolonging his life. I said you didn't have a chance. Obito said indifferently, and sentenced the other party to death without a trace of emotion. To be kind to the enemy is to be cruel to oneself. Now let Hanzo go, and when he lifts Susanoo, it is to the fish meat on the plan board. Hanzo, I only have one knife. Obito didn't want to talk nonsense anymore, and controlled Susa's arm with his pupil power, pulling out the inky jade-colored divine power. There was lightning and thunder in the sky, and the white lightning was like the whiskers of a big tree, reflecting the blade. The huge arm of the god of war slashed in the air, and then cut through the night sky and slashed diagonally towards Hanzo. Where Shinwei passed, the air condensed, as if a black crack moved in space, swallowing everything where it passed. Hanzo couldn't resist anymore and wanted to run, but his legs seemed to lose control. That black crack seemed to have a suction force, firmly fixed his body, and even had the momentum to be sucked into it. The black gradually obscured all his vision from far and near, and at the last moment of his life, Hanzo couldn't tell whether he had closed his eyes or been slashed by Kamui. He doesn't know anything anymore. In the horrified gazes of Hanzo's subordinates, the once invincible ninja demigod quietly turned into powder in the cracks, leaving not the slightest bit of slag behind. It's not so much death as extinction. It's as if there has never been such a man in the world. Shinwei slashed at the cliff with momentum, as if slashing on a tofu block, and the blade penetrated out. In the next instant, the huge cliff peak slowly fell and landed on the wasteland below, accompanied by a huge sound. Get out. Collecting the knife and standing, Obito looked at the rest of the people and drank lightly. Hanzo's subordinates quickly thanked him as if they were burdened, and then scattered in a panic. Everything was calm again, and the heavy rain washed the blood from the broken corner of the Fenkai cliff. Obito lifted Susa and released the people of Akino from Kamui. Pain. Yahiko saw Obito kneeling on the ground, as if he had been greatly consumed. I'm fine, just a little tired. Obito waved his hand, and Fang Kai's knife almost drained him. In addition, under the mask, blood and tears flowed from his eyes, but no one saw him. Not only chakra, the pupil power is also consumed hugely. Fortunately, there are intercolumn cells, which accelerates the recovery of pupil power, otherwise you will be blind sooner or later. He muttered in his heart. Pain, what about the half-Tibetans? Hatosuk couldn't help but ask. Dead. His men ran. Quote. Dead. Hanzo is dead. Well, I hacked him to death with a knife. Obito seems to be telling a sparse and ordinary thing. But in everyone's ears, it was a groundbreaking event. Not only those ordinary members, but even Yahiko III's expressions were full of disbelief. They have lived in the shadow of Hanzo since childhood, and for them, Hanzo is the sky of Yuyin Village, and the veritable master of Yuyin Village. Now, the sky is falling. Yuyin Village is about to change the sky. Wonderful, wonderful. Just as Yahiko led the crowd to cheer, an exclamation sounded in their ears. Tuan Zhang took people and strode from afar. Fang Kai was far away and witnessed the whole process of the battle. This Ah Fei really has a stunt. No wonder you dare to declare war on the entire ninja world. Pain, oh no, I should call you Fei. You are more powerful than I expected. Tuan Zhang had a smile on his face, but his eyes were full of cold killing intent, and there was a hint of vague greed. That kind of power is really desirable. Fei. The members of the Xiao organization were extremely sensitive to this name, and their eyes widened. Don't you know? Pain is Ah Fei is pain. Tuan Zhang made a gesture of confusion and repeatedly emphasized. Obito stared at Tuan Zhang, who was wrapped in a heart. With the other party's intelligence ability, it was not surprising that he could analyze his identity as a Fei. Pain, are you really Fei? That Ah Fei who wants to kill Miss Xiaonan? The Big Buddha frowned. It was difficult to associate this savior of everyone with the evil ghost who killed Miss Xiaonan in the image. It's me. Obito nodded. This moment will come eventually, but I didn't expect it to be in this way. The eyes of the members of the Xiao organization were full of disbelief, as well as loss, and they gradually moved away from Obito, and even had horizontal knives against each other. You actually admitted it generously, which is beyond my expectations. I thought you would at least quibble. Tuan Zhang said incredulously. Dare to be bold, I'm not you, I just want to steal my life. Obito said with a mocking smile. Danzo was unmoved, but just said to Yahiko and the three. If I were you, I would kill him now, and after passing this village, there would be no such shop. As soon as these words came out, it really pierced everyone's hearts, and Ah Fei's existence was a thorn in their hearts, so why not take advantage of this moment to pull out this thorn? Yahiko sneered, we killed Fei, and then you kill us again. Unexpectedly, Xiaonan also blocked in front of Obito. Danzo, I don't know what the future will be like. Pain, I just know that just now, he saved me, saved Yahiko, and also saved Xiao. Xiaonan's words were like a basin of cold water, pouring everyone up. Yes, without pain, they would have become corpses at this moment. How can they have the mind to talk nonsense here? Since you are stubborn, I can only destroy you evil people in the name of Konoha. Tuan Zhang saw that it was useless to attack the heart, and planned to do it directly. A vicious battle, to be fought again. Right at this moment. Obito said indifferently. Tuan Zhang, you should know my ability. If you don't kill me within 10 minutes, then I will reward you with a sword. You are now at the end of the crossbow, and you still have the ability to use Susanoo. You can give it a try. Obito's tone is firm and confident. In fact, 10 minutes is definitely not enough, but after 10 minutes, he uses the Flying Thunder God to add divine power, and no one can keep him. But the organization. I also want to try the newly comprehended Divine Paper Master's art. At this time, Xiaonan's silhouette soared into the sky, and between the waves of his wings, countless pieces of paper floated down. Tuan Zhang stopped, looked at Xiaonan suspended in the air, deep jealousy flashed in his eyes, and recalled the scene of the 600 billion explosive talisman explosion in his mind. He re-evaluated his odds and found that it was no longer a 1 for 10 victory. He glanced at his subordinates behind him again, his face was gloomy, and he thought that it didn't matter if all these people were sacrificed. Compared to Konoha's future, their lives are nothing. But it might be more useful to keep them. And he has just returned to his youth. If he accidentally folds here, it will be worth the loss. Finally, he made a decision. HMPH. Xiao, one day, you will be destroyed in the hands of Ah Fei. Quote. Nothing is more important than your own life. Early in the morning of the third day after that great battle. The gentle morning sun rises slowly from the east, shining on the towering buildings of Yuyan village, and the bright sunlight sweeps away the gloom brought by the rainy days of days. The news of Hanzo's fall spread throughout the land of rain, causing a huge sensation. Rebels and other forces began to act evil, venting their desires in darkness. The members of the Xiao organization set out to maintain order in Yuyan village. After learning that Hanzo died at the hands of Xiao's pain, the entire Rain country was in awe of the Xiao organization. The death of a demigod in the ninja world has also attracted a lot of attention in the ninja world. People speculated about the origin of this pain. As soon as the news spread 10 and 100, after it reached the neighboring Kusanagi village, it had already changed its taste. Kusanagi village tavern is still as lively as ever, but the faces are different every day. Hanzo's death has naturally become the hottest topic recently. A certain Rain country Lang shinobi. I heard that Pain single-handedly killed dozens of Hanzo's subordinates, and then killed Hanzo. The next day, the ninja of Iwane village. I heard that Pain killed Hanzo's hundreds of subordinates, and then fought Hanzo back and forth, and finally killed him. On the third day, the ninja of Kusanagi village. Know what? That Pain not only killed Hanzo's subordinates, but also took Hanzo for a second. The news became more and more outrageous, and by the end, Pain's image was close to God. At this moment, in the cave, Obito, Yahiko, Conan, and Nagato were sitting face to face, naturally not knowing the gossip outside. Nagato's reincarnation eye was implanted by Uchiha. Yahiko, Conan, and Nagato were incredulous. The three grew up together, and since the day they met Nagato, his eyes have been reincarnation eyes. I didn't expect it to be transplanted. Obito knew the shock in the hearts of the three and added. Well, Nagato is from the Uzumaki clan, and he has a chakra stock and strong vitality far beyond ordinary people, which is why Uchiha likes you. Yahiko asked puzzled, why did Uchiha transplant the eye of reincarnation to Nagato? I mean, doesn't he need eyes himself? Quote. Uchiha only opened the eye of reincarnation in his later years, when he was no longer able to use these eyes, so he needed to temporarily place these eyes here in Nagato, and after he was resurrected, he would use these eyes to carry out his plan of the Eye of the Moon. Obito explained patiently. Wait, resurrection. Can people be resurrected from death? Yahiko was shocked, and the three views were shocked. As long as you have the Eye of Reincarnation, you can cast the outer path. The person who is born with the art of reincarnation will resurrect people. Of course, the price is the life of the spellcaster. Obito said slowly. Hearing this, Nagato smiled self-deprecatingly. It turns out that he has been part of the Uchiha project since he was a child, and it is a container used by others to cultivate eyes. When the time comes, you will also use your own life to resurrect others. It's really sad that I live. Nagato asked, so, are you really Uchiha Madara? Obito shook his head and said in denial, I used to be a pawn of his, just like you, and after his death, I ran to the world to carry out the Eye of the Moon plan for him. Then you now want me to perform the reincarnation innate art to resurrect Uchiha? Nagato asked. In his eyes, Obito and Uchiha at this time were still the same as each other. As I said, it was once, and I can't help in this life. Obito cut the railway, and then continued to speak. Uchiha Madara still has a pawn in this world, named Peerless. He will blacken you at all costs and make you hate this world, so that you can be seduced by him and used by him. What am I going to do? Nagato's face was complicated. At this moment, he is only a 15-year-old teenager, but he is forced to get involved in this shocking conspiracy. The mystery and power of the other party left him at a loss. Obito said lightly, become strong. You can only protect yourself and protect your friends if you become strong enough, but you must remember that do not use the outer golem. He will not only suck you dry, but also corrupt your heart. Quote. That being said, Obito himself is only taking a step and looking at a step. After all, the future he knows belongs to a past life. And the future of this life is still unknown. Outer Path Golem. Is that monster? Yes, it is the shell of the 10 tails. As long as the 9-tailed beasts are collected, it can be transformed back into the 10 tails. Obito's words made Nagato's heart fluctuate and he couldn't calm down for a long time. Xiao Nan had to take him out first to calm his emotions. After the two left, Only Yahiko and Obito were left in the cave. Looking at Yahiko's preoccupation and wanting to speak, Obito asked, "What's wrong, Yahiko?" "Pain. I hate my weakness. I can't protect Nagato. I'm not qualified to lead Shao." Yahiko sighed faintly. That day, when Hanzo threatened Nagato with Konan's life, Yahiko was really powerless, and even had the will to die. If it hadn't been for pain appearing in time, he wouldn't dare to think about the consequences. "Yahiko, your talent is not weak, it's just that this world doesn't leave you enough time to grow." Obito sighed. The current ninja world is hell for the weak. He changed his tone and said, "Have you ever thought that the reason why other members of the Shao organization are willing to follow you with a dead heart is not because of your strength?" Yahiko said tentatively, "Because they also desire peace. In this war-torn era, everyone is affected, so their hearts are eager for peace, but not all of them have the courage, so one person needs to be the first to stand up. You are their spiritual pillar and the hope in their hearts." Obito said from the bottom of his heart. At this time, Yahiko, only 15 years old and weak in strength, dared to stand up in the chaotic world, and no one could match this courage and boldness alone. "However, I am too weak, just like Hanzo. I want to negotiate with him in a dialogue way, but he just wants to use his strength to coerce me." Yahiko was affirmed, but his mood was still low. "Yahiko, you have never been alone, you just pass on your beliefs to the ninja world, and as for the stubborn old era relics like Hanzo, just leave it to us," Obito said in one breath. Then he took out a map from the Kamui space, pointed to the location of the Land of Rain, and said his vision. The country of rain, the country of grass, and the country of Taki are these small countries sandwiched between several big countries, and whenever war breaks out, it will become a battlefield, countless civilians will linger, and countless children will become orphans. The desire of a big country has to make small countries bear the price, and the Shao organization came into being. You are a child of destiny. As long as you unite these small countries that have suffered so much, you can become a force to be underestimated. Everyone is prosperous and detrimental, and then the surrounding powers will naturally not dare to arbitrarily pinch us." Obito's words set off a huge wave in Yahiko's heart. Looking at this map, I was immediately excited, spreading the idea of peace in the entire ninja world and creating a peaceful world. If I can unite these small countries and bring peace to the world, then I will die. Yahiko clenched his fists. Obito looked at Yahiko, who was already moved, with satisfaction, and his words still had a role. As long as the ninja world is peaceful, Kuroki will never have an opportunity. "Pain, what should I do?" Yahiko asked excitedly. "Growing the organization is the first priority, and equal dialogue is built on the blade, you know this. There are countless displaced people in the ninja world, and there are talents in all aspects. As long as these people are absorbed, they can form a powerful force, which is the basis for allowing others to have a dialogue with Xiaoping. In addition, the tailed beast is also part of the strength composition, and it can cause a huge deterrent." Obito continued. Yahiko looked at Obito strangely and asked. "Collect tailed beasts. Isn't that still the Eye of the Moon project?" No-tailed beast, and no-tailed beast, are two concepts. Obito explained patiently. Yahiko thought thoughtfully. Obito stayed in Yuyin village for a while again. During this period, he helped Shao eradicate the stubborn resistance of Hanzo's men and eliminate the rebels who wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. At the same time, he also took time to instruct Nagato to use the pupil power of the Eye of Reincarnation. In the face of overwhelming strength, the Shao organization quickly stabilized the situation in Yuyin village. Yahiko and the others also settled in Hanzo's mansion, so they didn't need to hide in the cave. He listened to Obito's advice and absorbed the remnants of Hanzo's power to further expand Akira. At the same time, he studied Konoha, established a ninja school, and absorbed war orphans. Everything is going in a good direction. Danzo thinks that by messing up the neighboring forces, he will bring peace to Konoha, but he does not know that chaos will only give birth to the flower of evil. Peace and order can make people live and work in peace. Obito looked at the thriving Yuyin village and couldn't help but sigh. He also took the opportunity to consolidate his strength. From the intelligence collected from Yuyin village, analyze the ninja world at this time. Until this night, the long-lost screen reappeared above the ninja capital, and a new round of exposure began again. The sound of mechanical radio reaches everyone's ears. In a minute, the system will play the fourth act. The source of all evil, the battle of God without a bridge. Open discussion group now. After the animation is played, there will be a quiz with prizes. At that time, 3 lucky spectators who have successfully guessed will be selected. Please answer enthusiastically. Finally appeared. Wait a minute. God without a bridge. Don't. Obito looked at the screen that reappeared, and a sense of foreboding came. Mountain Cemetery. Aloe Vera Baiju grows out from the stone wall, and said in a panic, Obito, the situation with that Rin and the idiot Kakashi you said is not good. Obito sat up from the bed and said anxiously, what happened? Quote. They were single-handedly surrounded by the ninja of the mist-hidden village. Obito suddenly got up and ran to the exit gate, but was blocked by a large stone gate. He suddenly exerted his strength, punched the big stone, and blasted a broken pit on the stone gate. Although a broken pit appeared on the surface of the heavy stone door, it still did not move, but the artificial arm on the right side of the body with soil was shattered by the reaction force. He covered the broken mouth, and the pain stimulated his brain, making him more anxious. Vortex Baiju jumped behind him and said, your current body can't break rocks. Obito gritted his teeth and said, no matter what, I'm going to save Rin and Kakashi. Vortex Baiju seemed to be touched by his determination, wrapped Obito's body, and said, then wear me and go. So you won't be blamed. Obito is afraid to be involved in the Vortex White. Vortex Baiju, can't manage so much. Thank you. Obito thanked him sincerely, and then a punch was blasted out, and the huge force directly smashed the stone gate. Obito shuttled through the forest, rushed to Rin and Kakashi's location, and anxiously asked, where is Watergate Sensei? Who is that? Vortex means not knowing Watergate. I ask you where the yellow flash is. Obito repeated, his tone anxious and impatient. It seems to be on other tasks. Vortex said hesitantly. Obito said with chagrin, why is it at this time? Suddenly, his left eye hurt, and he vaguely saw Lin's bleeding face. What's going on? Don't think about it, Lin will be fine. Obito sped up, right away. It's coming soon. Lin, wait a little longer. Kakashi, you promised me to protect Rin. After a while, he finally arrived at the scene, and before he could catch his breath, he saw an unforgettable scene with wide eyes. I saw Kakashi's right hand raised in the air, and Ratchet in his hand emitted a sound of nourishing electricity, like the cry of 1,000 birds. And Lin suddenly pounced on Ratchet. The powerful Ratchet instantly pierced through her chest, shattered her heart, and dazzling thunder light gushed out from behind her. Lin Beiya bit Ju's lips tightly, spat out a mouthful of blood. Blood left from her mouth, her pretty face turned white, her face was haggard, and she muttered with the only remaining strength. Kakashi. The dazzling electric light in his hand made Kaka unable to open his right eye, and the blood chakra eye that belonged to Obito in his left eye shed tears sadly. He promised to bring the soil and protect Lin with his life. Kakashi withdrew his right hand that had penetrated Rin's heart, and his left hand hugged the paralyzed Rin. Obito in the distance witnessed all this, fiercely opening his one-eyed eye, bloodshot all over his eyeballs. He got it. Mist Yin Dark hatefully. We got it with great difficulty. At this time, Obito and Kakashi's blood chakra eyes changed at the same time. The eyes of the double-hook jade blood wheel changed suddenly, and the three-hook jade appeared. Sango jade flows around the pupil, and the black gouge jade flows in the blood eyes like a yin fish, replacing the position of the three-hook jade. The yin fish stopped flowing, and a pattern appeared, like 3 scythes of death connected in a ring. Shinwei blood chakra eye appeared. The huge pupil force hit Kakashi's brain nerves, and he fainted to the ground overwhelmed. And Obito was slowly wrapped in the swirling cloak that exploded violently, leaving only his right eye exposed to the air. The next moment, Obito turned into an angry child, roared on his back, and the cry of pain went straight to the sky, shattering the tranquility of the night. Then the full anger turned into endless sadness. He was overwhelmed by the tide of sorrow, and he was in place. The mouth kept muttering, and asked in a voice that only he could hear, "Here. What is this place?" Several thick thorns came out of his body, but he couldn't feel pain. This physical pain is less than 1/10,000th of losing Lin. The roar frightened the dark part of the fog, and they subconsciously turned around, unaware that a demon had quietly awakened. What people? Idiot, Just him, kill it. A mist-hidden shadow instantly threw 3 shurikens, hitting the soil directly. This world, I don't admit it. Obito does not dodge, and said to himself. He shook his body, and his expression could not be seen under the swirling mask. The next moment, the high-speed rotating shuriken penetrated him and nailed it to the stone wall behind him. What's the situation? How did he dodge? The fog-hidden dark department can't believe their eyes. Obviously they have hit the target, but they see through the other party's body. Is the other party a ghost without a body? This kind of thing. I don't admit it. Obito tears his heart and roars towards the dark part of the fog. Then he stepped on the ground and rushed towards the crowd at great speed. Don't underestimate the blood mist village. A fat misty shadow shouted, but before the knife was pulled out of its scabbard, the next moment, Obito had already deceived him. Obito's right hand was raised, and several thick and sharp branches directly penetrated the enemy's battle armor, shattering the opponent's heart, and then stabbed out from the back. This fog shadow dies in the same way as Lin. Bring soil for tooth, blood for blood, let this group of murderers of Lin feel the pain Lin suffered. The dark part who threw the shuriken before had fallen to the ground in fright, looking at the weirdo in front of him with trepidation. Obito held a sharp wooden thorn, instantly came to him, raised his hand high, and was about to stab his head hard. Suddenly, there was a sound of breaking the air in midair, and it turned out that 3 misty dark departments joined forces to attack him. With the earth god power blood wheel eyes shining red, launching the divine power, 3 blades with cold light instantly penetrated his body, stabbing the misty ninja under him to death. Didn't stab. How so? Those 3 misty faces were shocked that they had slashed their teammates, wondering why the blade in their hands would penetrate the opponent's body. They, like Kakashi, have tasted killing their teammates. They were answered by a volley and roundhouse kick. The necks of the 3 misty dark parts were twisted by a huge force, their skulls were shattered, and they flew out upside down. How did he do it? What kind of strange move is it? The rest of the fog-hidden parts all retreated in horror, and the enemies in front of them made strange moves, which made them terrified. I don't know who shouted in the crowd, at least take that woman away, never give the body to the enemy. Then, someone ran quickly towards Rin's body. This scene deeply stimulated Obito. How dare they? Delusional to desecrate Lin's body. The dragon has anti-scales, and when it is touched to the belt soil of the anti-scales, it rushes directly into the crowd, as if it is in no man's land, and rushes straight towards the rear of the crowd. Countless blades added to his body, but they all penetrated through his body, unable to cause damage. Lin is dead, there is nothing in this world that can hurt the soil. The art of cuttings and Shinwei suddenly pierced the dark part running in front of the heart, and the dead can't die anymore. Then Obito flashed to another dark part, smashed it on the ground with a punch, and the huge impact broke the hard ground and smashed a large hole. That dark part instantly stopped his body, rolled his eyes, and did not know whether he was alive or dead. Obito grabbed his body that bounced off the ground with one hand, pinched the mask on his face hard, and smashed him into the ground again. Obito said indifferently, I don't allow anyone to touch Lin again. He slammed the corpse of the enemy with punch after punch, venting the emotions in his heart. After a long time, the puddle of meat mud on the ground was no longer human, and the smell of blood permeated all around, so thick that it was disgusting. The dark part of the fog present were all ninjas who were accustomed to seeing blood and corpses, but they were still deeply shocked by this scene, and they only felt terrified. The white swirling coat was stained red with blood, and the demon slowly raised his body, turned around, and looked around at the remaining enemies with black eyes. It's like the Grim Reaper is picking the next target. The dark part of the fog swept by his gaze only felt that his back was cold, his scalp was numb and he kept retreating, 2 battles, and urine rushed straight to the brain. Mew done. Hell chaos. The next moment, a sharp and thick jungle of thorns broke through the earth from under their feet, instantly penetrated their bodies, and rolled everyone into the air. Blood mixed with blood from the thorns. Screams, wails, and pleas for mercy are endless, one after another. The people on the thorn tree tried to break free, but the thick thorns pierced their flesh and stuck them upside down in midair. Not long after, the figure fluttering in midair also stopped moving, only occasionally knee jumping to react to the corpse pumping next. Under the moonlight, everything returned to silence. A misty dark part fell in a pool of blood. Looking straight at the blood moon in the air, his vision slowly blurred. Obito stood in the thorn tree, bathed in the blood rain dripping from the thorn tree, and the blood under his feet was already flowing into a river. The blood river emits a strange light under the hazy moonlight. He walked up to Rin above the pool of blood, stretched out his trembling right hand, and gently tried to pick Lin up and leave this filthy place. Unexpectedly, the finger penetrated Rin's neck, and Obito's face twitched. I see. He picked Rin up and placed it on his chest with distress, his fingertips across her bloodless face. Rin, I'm going to create another world with you. Obito raised his head, his right eye widened, his pupils contracted, staring straight ahead, blood and tears flowing unstoppably. In hell. Quote. The picture stopped abruptly. Shock. The entire ninja world fell into a brief silence. Yahiko looked at Obito and said, Pain, this. It's you. Quote. Swirling coat, the same divine power blood wheel eye. These iconic things. Didn't run. With the earth taking off the mask, the white swirling coat suddenly stretched out, revealing the face inside that was no different from the one in the image. It's just that Obito in the image has a dead gray face, and there is no life in his eyes, and although Obito at this moment is as indifferent as water, his eyes are shining. It's me, I'm Uchiha Obito. Obito looked outside, his eyes showing. The Battle of Shenwubi Bridge is just an image for others, but for oneself it is a memory rooted in memory. After many years, looking back, my heart will still feel a faint pain. At this time, the discussion group was already full of people. Passerby A. Pervert. It's too perverted, a person crushed the dark part of the fog. I said fog hidden, why do you provoke this god killer? Quote. Mist hidden ghost man. The high level is too shabby, the land of blood mist. It's ridiculous, how many masters' lives have been ruined for a girl. Watermelon mountain puffer bone. Ninjas of mist hidden village are not allowed to talk indiscriminately in the discussion group. Quote. Dried persimmon ghost mackerel. The boss is right. Quote. I'm going to marry a handsome guy. Humph. Dare to do it or dare not admit it. Wait for me to become a water shadow and remove all of you high-level people who are vegetarian in the corpse position. Citrus Yakura. 6. Passerby A. Konoha's came out to speak. What is this called Obito? Konoha handsome guy. Shish. Strange. Obito should have died in the hands of Yan Yin. Iwane. Terracotta. Is there such a thing? Iwane artist. Don't call Iwane, thank you. Passerby A. So what is the origin of Obito? Uchiha's. Looking at his penetrating ability, it must be that Afe is right. Konoha old beast. Obito it's a crane tail of our class, its son. Everyone. Funny, right? The crane tail is so bad. Sarutobi Hinata. Konoha village ninjas are not allowed to reveal any information about Obito in the discussion group. Quote. Konoha blue beast. Good Naruto-sama. Cloud. Shadow sings and dances trainee ninja. Yagaya Road, Kugaya Road. I know him, he is a disciple of the wave feng shui gate. Everyone suddenly realized. Oh, it's a yellow flash disciple. Sure enough, a famous master is a high apprentice. Konoha Golden Wheel Phantom Dance Swift Wind. It's okay, the main thing is to take this kid to learn. Just. As the wave of feng shui gate and honor was in place, a familiar mechanical sound sounded on the screen. Let's move on to the prize quiz session. Question. The Battle of Shin no Bibashi. How old is Obito, ninja level? A. 13, Naka Shinobu. B. 13, Kami Shinobu. C. 15, Naka Shinobu. D. 15, Kami Shinobu. Please make your choice in time, and rewards will be awarded to the 3 correct answers. The system announcement is paused. Konoha Blue Beast. This question, I will. Passerby A. Big guy, please bring. Konoha Blue Beast. This. We, Naruto-sama, don't let us say it. Everyone. Iwane Akaji. This strength, I think it should be at least Shangnan. Why don't you choose B? Quote. Mist hidden ghost man. 13-year-old Shangnan is also too exaggerated. 15 years old, D. Quote. Passerby A. You guys forgot, it's wartime, Konoha's combat power is insufficient, and it is still very possible to promote a few young people with excellent strength to Shangnan, B. Everyone. Makes sense. Yahiko looked at Obito and said, Pain, B or D? Obito glanced at him and said, choose A. Ooh, ah. Nani, are you only 13 years old? 2 years younger than me. Quote. Yahiko looked at Obito like a freak. Once again, he felt the difference in the world. Please make your choice within 1 minute. The discussion group chattered endlessly, as if divided into two factions. Pi B and Pi D. Passerby A. This question is a sub-question for the people of Konoha. Everyone echoed. The ape flying sun is not the son of man. Quote. Since the people of Konoha are silent, the other shinobi villages are talking about it. When the answer time is up, the correct answer will be announced now. A. Konoha Blue Beast. I said that Obito is a crane tail, how can it be Shangnan, you guys? Not useful. Everyone. Passerby. A. Which village has such a fierce crane tail? Or you Konoha's crane tails so fierce? Iwane artist. This strength in patience. I eat dirt. Quote. Mist hidden ghost man. I didn't expect that Konoha would also bury talents, and at this point, Mist hidden village and Konoha are of the same level. The crowd began to criticize Konoha. The scene can be called a large-scale online riot scene. Konoha handsome guy. Don't scold, before going to the battlefield, it is indeed a middle patience. Quote. Winners are now announcing. Congratulations to Yahiko for winning the reward. Ninjutsu understanding has been improved. Congratulations on getting the reward. Chakra limit has been increased. Congratulations to Uchiha for getting the reward. The pupil power of the blood chakra has been improved. Discussion. Group. Passerby A. Abominable, Konoha's cha solitude. Iwane. Artist. Every time I have Uchiha spots, get used to it. Quote. I want to marry a handsome guy. Shady curtain, I'm tired of talking. Quote. Now play the fourth act Easter egg. The heir of the devil, the substitute messenger who walks in the world. In a white world. Uchiha. This is my illusion space, although I can create everything by projecting my own will, and control everything, as long as I connect the golem and use its power, no matter how big or small, I can do it. Speaking, Uchiha's face changed, and the old man suddenly turned into a young man. Obito looked at all this in surprise. Uchiha continued, use this illusion to imagine the most ideal world, and then just cast the illusion on all mankind and bring them in. Uchiha pointed to the blood wheel eye and said, using the moon instead of this blood wheel eye and expanding the scale of the technique, you can create a dream world. If you have to explain the principle, we must start with the 10 tails and the 6 immortals, and the tailed beasts scattered in various places are driven by the power of the 10 tails divided by the 6 immortals. Uchiha Obito. Is there any evidence for such a legend? Uchiha Madara. Yes, after getting the intercolumnar cell, I transplanted it into the wound, and nothing happened at first, but before I died, I opened the eye of reincarnation. But at the same time, a certain seal was also unlocked, and I successfully summoned something, and from the sealing stone, I channeled the shell of the 10 tails, which I called the golem of the outer path. Uchiha Madara. That sealing stone is the moon in people's mouths, and I use the body of the golem as a catalyst to cultivate intercolumn cells. Uchiha Obito. So, these white people are all artificial people. Uchiha. Yes, although the deterioration is extremely serious. The eye of reincarnation cannot be opened without the two powers of Uchiha and Senju, let alone manipulate the outer path golem, and your right half has cells between the pillars, so even if you do not open the eye of reincarnation, you should be able to manipulate the outer path golem. Then, Madara taught Uchiha's forbidden technique, the art of the 6 paths, and the yin and yang escape technique to Obito, and then the two returned to the real space. Uchiha Ban pressed one hand on the aloe vera white body beside him, only to see the black spread to his half of his body. He said, I injected my will into this guy, you can be half of me, you can use these guys made with yin and yang as pawns to drive. That black rod is the entity of my consciousness, when you use the 6 Tao technique, you can use him. After the explanation, Uchiha broke the long white pipe with the outer path golem, and said dyingly, okay, let's go. In the period before my resurrection, you were Uchiha Madara. In the heavy rain, the strange man wrapped in a white whirlpool coat walks in the world step by step. This Easter egg is extremely informative, and everyone in the ninja world is shocked at this moment. Many ordinary ninjas doubted themselves. This Are these secrets something I can know? How can I? Quote. Discussion group closed. Konoha Hokage office. What's going on? Didn't Uchiha Obito already die in the mission to blow up the Shinmubai bridge? Ape Flying Sun took a sharp puff of his cigarette. Now that the three wars are not over, Uchiha Obito has become the public enemy of the ninja world again, and it is conceivable that even Konoha has become the target of everyone. Mito Menyon on the side also frowned, and said, "This matter is really tricky. The news that Uchiha died in battle with the Earth was transmitted back by Watergate, and this matter needs to be asked about Watergate. We can only discuss it when Watergate returns from the front line." Ape Flying Sun chopped with a gloomy face. The mission of Shen Wubi Bridge was successful, and Watergate's prestige in the village rose a lot, and he wanted to take this opportunity to promote Watergate as the next Hokage. Out of this stubble, I am afraid that this matter will run aground. Hinata, you're really old. The refreshed Tuan Zhang walked in and glanced at the three people in the conference room. He returned from Yuyan village and Kaoyan village these days, secretly collecting intelligence and replenishing new forces for the route. Sarutobi Hinata, Kaharu and Mito Menyon looked at Danzo, who had returned to youth, with deep surprise in his eyes. Are you really a group? Tuanzo's appearance at this moment reminded her of decades ago, when Tuanzo, as a disciple of the second generation of Hokage, was also handsome, and many girls of the same age secretly admired him. For an old woman who is more than half 100 years old, the allure brought by eternal youth far outweighs strength. Tuan Zhang looked at the three old guys present, and said secretly, "Xiaochun, are you confused? Not who am I still at?" Kaharu smiled sarcastically. It's really too weird. Before Iwahide village Onoki was 10 years younger, she was jealous enough, and now there is a group, she decided to answer the question herself next time. Indeed like, exactly like when I was younger. What an enviable one. Mito Menyon circled around Danzo, and his mouth was full of envy. No matter how much authority you have, when people are old, some things are just inadequate. At this moment, he wanted to exchange with Tuan Zhang. Tuan Zhang pressed a smile and said, "Back to business, what do you think about Uchiha bringing soil?" Ape Fei Richo looked at the old guy in front of him who was exactly the same as decades ago, and there was a complicated look in his eyes. But at the moment, the matter mattered, so he said, "We are waiting for the return of Watergate, and then investigate the situation of Uchiha with soil." Wait, Richo, you will always be so passive. Who do you think I met in Yuyan village this time? Tuan Zhang raised his head and mocked the old fellow, and then sold it. Who? Uchiha Obito. Nani? Not to mention Mito Menyon and sleeping Kaharu, even Sarutobi Hinata couldn't sit still. Uchiha with soil in Yuyan village. They asked in disbelief. Tuan Zhang fixed their reaction and said sarcastically, "You guys are sitting in the office pointing at Zhongshan. Of course, the news is lagging. Uchiha Obito not only appeared in Yuyan village, but also killed Hanzo by himself. In fact, he could conclude that pain was from the Uchiha family, but he never expected it to be a small Naka ninja. At this time, he had not yet learned that Obito had died in battle, in the mission to blow up the Shenwubi bridge. Tuanzo originally wanted to go back to the village and start with those gifted geniuses of Uchiha, but now that he thinks about it, if he checks according to this idea, I am afraid that he will never know Pain's true identity. Fortunately, he saw the image on the screen along the way, which saved him a lot of effort. Hanzo the pepperfish was killed by Uchiha with soil. How can it be? He's only 13 years old. Mito Menyon and Kaharu lost their voices in unison. Hanzo has long been famous in the ninja world, and he has the name of a ninja demigod, and they learned of Hanzo's death a few days ago, and secretly investigated Pain's identity. But in the intelligence from the villages, there was no such person, as if it appeared out of thin air. Now that I think about it, if it is Uchiha with soil, then everything really makes sense. It's just that it's too scary. A 13-year-old Zongnan killed a shadow-level powerhouse. Danzo recounted the battle he had seen in Yuyan village, focusing on Muden and Susanoo who were cast by Obito. In this way, when this son was in the village, he has always been Taoguang and raised obscurity, showing people is the tail of the crane. The city government is not deep, its intentions are not small, maybe it is the conspiracy of the Uchiha family. Xiaochun's mind opened up, and after some analysis, the spearhead pointed directly at the Uchiha family. Indeed, how can a teenager who has stayed in the village since he was born hide so deeply? Someone must have instigated it, and the Uchiha family is the most suspected. Mito Menyon echoed. At this time, Ape Fei re-interrupted them with a word. I don't think so, you forgot. The Easter egg in the fourth act is called the stand-in messenger. I guess Uchiha Madara is dead, so who is Uchiha Madara in the last few rewards? As soon as these words came out, Tuan Zhang also nodded and said, these 4 rewards, Uchiha Spot, got the Kaleidoscope Blood Wheel Eye, the 3 Tails ISO, the Power of the Thousand Hands, and the latest Blood Wheel Eye Pupil Power Hint. Except for Mio ISO, who hasn't shown up yet, the others are all right as the abilities I saw in Pain. The most important thing is that the Pain Kaleidoscope Blood Wheel Eye pattern is exactly the same as the Uchiha Obito in the image. The difference is that Pain has 2 blood chakra eyes, while Uchiha Obito in the image only has 1. Tuan Zhang said in one breath. Wait, you say Pain has 2 kaleidoscopic blood wheel eyes. Quote. Ape Flying Sun Chopper found a blind spot. Tuanzou nodded and asked, what's the problem? Ape Fei Ri Chopper stood up and said, but there is obviously only one of him in the image. So where else is it? At this time, Mito Menyon said, you forgot, Kakashi Kiki in the image also has one. It should be given by Uchiha with soil. Kaharu retorted, how can such precious eyes be taught to others? Quote. Mito Menyon is speechless. With common sense, the kaleidoscope blood wheel eye will indeed not be given to others. The Ape Flying Sun Chop did not catch the stubble, he remembered a detail. Kakashi Kiki has been wearing an eye patch since returning from that mission, claiming that his eyes have been blinded, and that he does have scars on his eyes in the image. This point Watergate and Rin Nohara can testify. Could it be that Uchiha Obito still had time to give him another kaleidoscope blood wheel eye? It's also not right. Kakashi opened the kaleidoscope blood chakra eye with Uchiha Obito in the image, indicating that Uchiha Obito had already given the blood chakra eye to Kakashi before the kaleidoscope was opened. But now Tuan Zhang said that Pain has double kaleidoscopic blood wheel eyes. Could it be that the appearance of screen images made Uchiha Obito open the kaleidoscope in advance, thus causing a series of changes in the latter? So the question arises again, why did Uchiha Obito die in battle, in the Divine Bridge? Or is he just suspended animation? If it's suspended animation, does the 7th class know? There are many doubts here. Ape Fei rethought for a long time, rubbed his eyes, and felt a little headache. Perhaps, I am really old. Seeing that Sarutobi was silent, Danzo turned his head to look at Konoha's 2 advisors and asked, is there any news from the village when I'm away? Xiaochun pondered for a moment and said, the Shenwubi Bridge was successfully blown up, and news came from the water gate that Uchiha brought soil to the list of the dead. Tuan Zhang's eyes were shining, looking at the Ape Flying Sun chopping with his head down and pondering, and sneered secretly. He turned his head abruptly and asked, in the list of deaths, how did Uchiha Obito die? Quote. This. Shun Xiaoharu and Mito Menyon couldn't answer. Before Obito's identity was exposed, it was just an ordinary Zongnin in the village, and they naturally wouldn't pay attention. The cave collapsed and half of my body was crushed by the boulder. Ape Flying Sun spoke. Watergate is loyal to you, it is obviously impossible to lie to you at this point, and the body of Uchiha Obito in the image is strange, and it seems to be artificially filled with half of it. Tuan Zhang opened his mouth. You mean, he was saved by Uchiha? Mito Menyon asked. Exactly. Tuan Zhang said confidently. That's not right. The 3 generations of Hokage denied it, and then said his reason. The first image appeared before the mission with soil. If Pain really took soil, then there was only one possibility. Suspended animation. Uchiha with Earth suspended animation. He deceived everyone. Quote. Turning to sleep Kaharu raised the decibels. Abominable. Again by the sun chopping down. Quote. Tuan Zhang is secretly annoyed. Ape Fei Ri said his thoughts simply. He has the ability to blur, and the body that was pressed by the boulder at that time may have been blurred by him, but in the eyes of outsiders, he was crushed to death in the pile of rubble. Uchiha took 2 to fake his death to Yuyin village, and what he wanted was reincarnation. Xiaochun analyzed in combination with the intelligence transmitted back by the group. Sarutobi looked solemn. The problem is here, in the image, he became a substitute messenger of Uchiha after the death of Nohara Rin, and now that Nohara Rin is not dead, he has already gone to Yuyin village. The time is not right here, so everything about the future in the image may be fake. He finally came to a conclusion. How is that possible? Tuanzo vetoed. I was really rewarded, how could everything in the image be fake? But he couldn't think of a reason to refute the day for a while. But he thought about it and said, even if we say that the image is fake, the ninja world will not believe us. In fact, as long as we push Uchiha out, Konoha will be able to get rid of it. Haven't you noticed that Uchiha may have been living in this world without us knowing? The words of the 8 flying sun made everyone present jump. They were all disciples of the second generation Hokage, and they were naturally thunderous about the existence of Uchiha, which was an existence that could rival the Lord of the Pillars. If Uchiha Ba is still alive, he can't directly do it to the Uchiha family. The 5 Shadows Conference will be held, and then you have to give an explanation to the other villages, otherwise the village will be in trouble. Kaharu said. As early as when the first image was exposed, Sarutobi Hinata wanted to hold a meeting of the 5 cages, one to clarify Konoha, and the other to bring an end to the 3 battles. Sarutobi beheaded and asked, what has Uchiha been doing lately? When I learned that Madara was likely to live in this world, a small number of people in the clan were ready to move. Prevent the day from chopping. Mito Menyon persuaded. Alas. Sarutobi sighed. During the 3 battles, the Uchiha family also shed a lot of blood for the village, but now they are planning to target Uchiha. At this moment, a dark officer walked into the conference room and presented an informant. After the 3 generations of Hokage finished reading it, his face changed and said. Something happened. Yuyin village, formerly Hanzo mansion. The bright candle flame flickered, and the whole room was filled with Yahiko and Obito. After watching the video, Yahiko hesitantly looked at his lifesaver. Hey, Obito, are you really no longer the messenger of Uchiha? You still call me Pain. Obito patted Yahiko's shoulder and said lightly, it was he who single-handedly planned the Battle of Shenwubi Bridge, the purpose of which was to make me despair of this world and be used by him. Actually, in retrospect, the time when Baiju appeared was very strange, but I lost my mind at that time, I didn't expect it. The dim candle flame reflected on Obito's face, flickering on and off. Yahiko believed in Obito completely. As a teenager, he fully understands the feeling of his sweetheart dying tragically in front of him. For the masterminds behind the scenes, they must be hateful, how can they be instructed by them again? If Xiao Nan is hurt by someone, I will definitely go crazy. Yahiko said. The two looked at each other and smiled, quite sympathetic to each other. The two at this moment are just ordinary adolescent teenagers. Next, Yahiko asked Obito for ninjutsu. Obito's patient teaching. Yahiko in the previous life died prematurely. Give him enough time, the strength will definitely not lose to Konan, and their strength is also a good thing for Nagato. Obito watched Yahiko's kung fu for a while, and he mastered most of it, and his heart was very gratified. In the process of teaching Yahiko, feeling the curiosity in his eyes and respect for himself, these bring Obito a great sense of achievement and satisfaction. Just as Yahiko was practicing ninjutsu, a Naka shinobu from Yuyin village ran in and handed over a piece of information. Since Hanzo's death, Xiao has absorbed the remnants of Hanzo's forces, including intelligence organizations. Yahiko looked at the information handed over and changed color. Obito asked, what happened? Yahiko handed the information to Obito, turned to the Naka shinobu and asked, is the news reliable? That Naka ninja bowed his head and lowered his eyebrows. It was transmitted back by the dark sun of the mist-hidden village. After reading the information, Obito's face instantly became gloomy, his eyes shone with a strange red light, and he said in a deep voice. How daring. Obito, there may be fraud. Compared to Obito, Yahiko was still calm, and analyzed in a calm tone. The image has just finished playing, and the entire ninja world knows how important Rin is to you, and as a result, I immediately received this information. It shows that the other party has long planned to catch Lin, and it is very likely to be a trap set by you. Obito's face was resolute, and said, even if it's Longtan Tiger's den, I'm going to break in. I can't let the tragedy repeat itself. Yahiko, I'm leaving, protect Nagato. He is a very important part of the Eye of the Moon plan. Kuro will definitely not give up easily. Don't worry. Yahiko gave Obito a reassuring look, looked at his departing figure, and said, after rescuing Rin, remember to come to Shaoju for a get-together. Definitely. The moonlight was like water, pouring into the land, spreading like darkness. Hurry, run. That god killer is coming. Dozens of dark people rushed through the woods, and the surrounding trees were rustled, breaking the silence of the night. The fear in their hearts broke their defenses like a tide, causing them to run for their lives. I thought that what I received was just an ordinary task. After all, how difficult can it be to kidnap a Konoha ninja girl? After watching the video, they knew the weight of this Konoha girl, and they also understood why so many people were dispatched from above. Where is this mission? This is sending to death. Hurry, hurry up. You chase me in this group of foggy shadows, for fear that you will become the last one to fall. My dignified blood mist village. Will you be afraid of that madman? One of the mist shadow ninjas said unwillingly, but immediately caused the ridicule of his companions around him. In that image, the first person to die is you. You're not afraid that you stay and break off. That's me. Another fat man beside him said faintly. In the video, he recognized his fat self at a glance. Stop talking, run. The foggy dark part, which was running in the front, shouted at the back. Everyone's eyes turned to him, with pity and sympathy in his eyes. He was the ghost in the image who was beaten into mashed meat. This group of foggy dark parts were tense, and in the process of escaping, they looked around from time to time, for fear that the killing god would appear in front of him in the next second. Strange to say, the above knows that this mission will fail, but still wants us to continue the mission. Who knows what the upper echelons think? I have to touch that god-killing mold. That. Can I change someone to carry this girl? I'm a little tired. A childish voice sounded, coming from the middle of the group. If the most dangerous person in this team is the teenager who is carrying Lin. This was his first mission, and as a newcomer to the team, he was honorably arranged to carry hostages. As soon as the others heard this request from him, they immediately looked at their noses, and they all went deaf selectively. Just as everyone was running wildly, a white-haired Kakashi rushed up from behind, like a ghost in the night. His left eye flashed red, and he quickly searched for the figure in the dark part of the fog. Don't let Rin get hurt, or Obito will go crazy. Kakashi said darkly. The thunder light in the right hand flickered, the chirping of 1,000 birds drifted through the woods, and the blinding electric light illuminated the pitch black nearby. Found it. Kakashi jumped and pierced the hearts of several mist shadows before they could react. It's that white-haired imp. Abominable. He really chased after him. The dark part running in front noticed the movement behind, but did not have the slightest intention of stopping and blocking, but greased the soles of his feet and ran faster. Abominable. Speed up again. Kakashi looked at their suddenly accelerating figures, and had to fight forward to chase, if only he could fly Thor. In a barren clearing, the mist ninja gasped and stopped. This familiar place is exactly where they died in the image. Run. What are you doing stunned? The mist ninja who caught up behind cursed anxiously. The companion in front not only stopped running, but also took a few steps back, as if he saw the death of the god who asked for his life. But in the next moment, the eyes of all the dark parts of the fog suddenly contracted, and the heart was about to jump to the throat. In the line of sight, the killing god stood majestically in the night, his clothes fluttering in the wind, and the hand under his robe seemed to hold the scythe of the god of death. It is with soil. His gaze was gloomy as water, looking at the dark part of the fog in the moonlight. With his mind thinking about how to free Rin, he certainly has the ability to destroy this group of people with a single sword, but he has to make sure that nothing is wrong to prevent the opposite dog from jumping off the wall and hurting Rin. Along the way, he used Flying Thunder God and Shinwei to rush to the road, and his physical strength and chakra were consumed greatly, but fortunately, with the blessing of the intercolumn cells, his physical strength and chakra's recovery speed were greatly improved. For someone else, he would have died alive and tired on the road. Obito locked onto Rin, who was carried on her shoulders in the middle of the crowd at a glance. Feeling Obito's gaze, a dry fog and dark department all let go of their bodies, exposing the recruit's egg. If it had been changed to the past, they would definitely let this madman who stood in the way taste the power of the land of blood mist. But after the image is exposed, no one wants to die. Put her down, you guys go. Or die like in the image. After a stalemate, Obito spoke lightly. Giving the trapped beasts in the cage a glimmer of life is a way to prevent them from fighting to the death. Fortunately, he came in time. If Lin was brought back to Wuyin, Baochi would be persecuted. Just go back like this, the elders will punish us. I don't know who mentioned it, and the foggy dark parts suddenly looked at each other. It doesn't matter, die now, or go back to be punished together. You guys choose for yourselves. Obito shrugged his shoulders and gave them a multiple choice question. Don't be too arrogant. We have hostages in our hands. The newcomer was so frightened that he raised his kunai and aimed at Lin in a coma, intending to use this as a threat. Obito's face turned cold, and he said, "It seems that you chose the former." As soon as the words fell, the newcomer raised his kunai hand and appeared a divine power vortex. In the next second, the arm was twisted and broken by the precise raw life, and blood was splashed everywhere. This trick made the fog-hidden shadows recall the fear of being tortured and killed. The bridge. Bridges and other sacks. As long as you promise to let us go, we will release people. Several shadowy mist divisions who were afraid of death begged for mercy. Obito nodded, let go, and said, you guys go first. Those few misty shadows were like amnesty, and they didn't care if their companions were dead or alive, carefully avoiding the soil and running away. Seeing this, the others immediately followed their pace, and the entire crowd scattered. The sky is high for birds to fly, and the sea and air are for fish to leap. Instead of losing your life here, it's a big deal not to return to the mist-hidden village, just be a traitor. Anyway, that oppressive blood mist village, there is nothing to stay in. It didn't take long for there were only 3 or 4 people left in the crowd, holding that they would rather die than complete the task. I hope that the mist-hidden village will remember your loyalty. Obito looked at the rest of the people and smiled indifferently. The next moment, several thick thorns broke through the ground under their feet, stabbing them alive. Obito stepped forward and picked up Rin on the ground to prevent her from being tainted by the blood dripping on the ground. The warm and soft delicate body is different from the cold corpse in the previous life, and it is also like the mentality of Obito at this moment. Bing! Obito! Lin woke up from her coma, and into her eyes was the face that she was looking forward to day and night. I haven't seen it for a long time, and his hair has grown to the point where it doesn't reach his ears. Her watery eyes were full of stunned, and she didn't seem to expect Obito to appear here. What followed was a great surprise, a joy that at the most vulnerable and most in need of salvation, the person I missed the most fell from the sky and appeared in front of him. You've lost weight. She touched Obito's face and said softly. Obito rested his face against her forehead and rubbed it gently. Rin, it's me. I knew you weren't going to die. Lin threw herself into Obito's arms with a, wow, and rubbed his neck, her eyes half joyful and half aggrieved. Uncontrollable sobs broke out, tears slipping down his cheeks and soaking his sleeves. Obito caressed her back and comforted, Rin, I'm fine, I won't let you suffer any more harm. 1,000 words condensed into a guarantee. At this moment, Obito felt that he had truly been redeemed. The future is truly rewritten at this moment. Lin curled up in Obito's arms and nodded, a huge sense of security enveloping her body and mind. It was a feeling she had lost and thought she would never have again, precious. Just as the two were warming up, Kakashi also rushed over. Obito. Kakashi obviously didn't expect Obito to appear here, and there was joy in his eyes, as well as deep guilt. Kakashi, long time no see. Are you still used to using your eyes? Obito said with a smile. Suddenly, his eyes changed. 3 figures suddenly appeared behind Kakashi, and the powerful aura instantly pressed towards Obito. The white-haired burly man at the head, wearing the word, oil, on his forehead, long white hair up to his waist, red marks on his eyes, wearing a battle armor, calm temperament, like a hero in the world. There was a man and a woman next to him. The woman is also wearing battle armor. Her face is fair, her facial features are delicate, her short yellow hair is sassy, and the heavy battle armor cannot cover her high and bulging chest, and at a glance, she knows that she has a murderous weapon in the world, it is Tsunade. The last man had long black hair, a pair of snake eyes, golden enchantment, purple eye shadow extended to the wing of the nose, sickly pale skin, with a pair of blue jade earrings. The whole person exuded a dangerous aura. Big Snake Pill. These three are the legendary Konoha Sanshinobi who just returned from the frontline battlefield. The legendary Konoha Sanshin. Obito felt a chill in his heart. How could the three shinobi of Konoha gather here? Is it all for me? Jiraiya, he is the child of prophecy you were looking for. Orochimaru stretched out his tongue and licked his lips, his eyes were full of greed, and he brought soil in his eyes, better than everything in the world. Obito frowned, and a feeling of being targeted by a poisonous snake rose in his heart, and he was creepy for a while. But also confused by his words. What children of prophecy? Uchiha brings the soil, on the orders of the three generations, to escort you back to the village. Zerai also looked at Obito, and his heart was like a wild wave. The prophecy of the great toad immortal of Myoki Mountain is still in his ears. Jiraiya, there are changes in the future, and those who bring disaster to the ninja world will also bring stability to the ninja world. And you are the one who guides him, and one day, you will be forced to make a choice. Quote. I thought that the son of prophecy was Nagato, but now it seems that Uchiha Obito is more in line with that prophecy. Jiraiya also understands it this way. As long as Obito is guided to the light, then the ninja world will usher in stability, otherwise Obito will become the messenger of Uchiha and bring disaster to the ninja world. But the next moment, Obito's answer made him frown. What if I don't return? In his previous life, during the battle with Naruto, Obito also fantasized about returning to the village and becoming a Hokage with his efforts. Just the illusion feels like the hollow of the soul is filled. At this moment, this opportunity is in front of his eyes. Obito thrilled. But now his identity is obvious, and the future images do not know what will be exposed, and everything is variable. So you're going to defect to Konoha. Once you defect to the village, you will be Konoha's wanted criminal, your people, your best friends, and your teachers will all be influenced by you. The Big Snake Pill said in a dark voice. It is the best way to deal with this kind of teenage little furry child and bind the other party with bonds. Obito. When Lin heard this, she nervously took Obito's hand, and her palm was cold. She is afraid to leave her again, afraid that Obito will become a wanted criminal in the village. Obito squeezed the back of Rin's hand, gave her a reassuring look, and began to think in her mind. The Big Snake Pill is right. Once he defects, he is a wanted criminal, and with the strength he has exposed at the moment, it is estimated that he is an S-class wanted criminal. When the time comes, he will face his fellow soldiers in the village, and Rin and Kakashi will be caught in the middle, which will inevitably be embarrassed. Now the entire ninja world knows that Rin is his own anti-scale, and there are also strange things in Rin's kidnapping this time, and it is inevitable that such things will not happen in the future. If you don't do one or the other, just take Rin away from Konoha. As soon as the idea came up, it was vetoed by Obito. Rin has a family, and she is different from herself. Moreover, let Lin follow him to live a life of ups and downs, he can't bear it in his heart, and he can't take Lin into the Shinwei space without moving, right? Thinking about it, it seems that there is only one way to return to Konoha. Okay, I'll go back to Konoha with you. Finally, Obito nodded and agreed. Everyone present breathed a sigh of relief. In addition to Lin, the expression of the Big Snake Pill was the most excited. The corners of his mouth outlined a smile, and his heart was ecstatic. He had never seen a body better than Obito. That's a collection of Uchiha and Senju's power. After Obito made his decision, he also muttered to himself like a heavy relief. From this moment on, my fate has completely changed. The moonlight was hazy, shining on the way back to the village of Konoha's old and new classes. Hey, Obito, listen to the three generations, you also went to Yuyin village, did you see Nagato them? Jiraiya came over and inquired. Obito knew that Zillai was also the chief teacher of the three of them, and said with a bow, they are very good. Yahiko is now the leader of Shao and the leader of Yuyin village. Yahiko, that kid can do it, hit me to see if he has a chance. At a young age, he broke out of the sky. Lai also raised his eyebrows, his face was excited, and then his tone was a little melancholy, and said. Patronizing the war, I don't have time to go back to see them. Xiaonan should have become a big girl. And Nagato, who has always been sensitive and delicate. At that time, they were still wearing frog suits and listening to their own lectures. Hokage building meeting room. At the moment, there are only 2 people in the house. Obito stood straight at the desk of the 3 generations, accepting the inquiries of the 3 generations. What shall I call you? Hoodlum. Pain. With soil. Quote. The old god of the 8 flying sun is there, and it seems that he controls all the information. Obito stood with his hands in his hands and said respectfully, call me Obito, 3rd Hokage-sama. Sandai was very satisfied with his attitude, and asked straight to the point. Before leaving the mission, you haven't opened the blood chakra eye, so you should be the Uchiha who can draw rewards every time. He said, looking straight into Obito's eyes. Obito had a mocking smile on his face, like a child who had done something bad and was exposed. I can't hide anything from you, 3 generations of Hokage-sama. So, tell me, why suspended animation? Do you know the consequences of concealing the village? 8 Fei Sun's tone suddenly became serious. Obito's face remained unchanged, and he threw out a message that moved the other party. In order to meet Uchiha. Is Uchiha really alive? 8 Fei Ri's pupils shrank in disbelief. Ninjas of the Sengoku period can live to this world, and although the secret is exposed in the video, hearing it with your own ears at this moment is another feeling. Dead now. Obito said lightly. That's good. Sarutobi took a sip of his eyes to calm his excitement, then sat down again, and then asked. So, Madara asked you to go to Yuyin village to find Nagato to get the Eye of Reincarnation. Obito did not deny it. Instead of constantly explaining, it is better to push it all to Madara. Obito, what about the Eye of Reincarnation? I didn't do it, Nagato is my friend. Yes, a child with a lot of heart. 8 Flying Sun nodded secretly. You seem to have known about Madara all along, Obito. 8 Fei Ri looked deep, wanting to see the clues of the soil. Well, Uchiha Madara dreamed on his deathbed, let me inherit his inheritance. Obito had long thought of a countermeasure and casually lied. Otherwise, the other party will have to ask himself why he knows the location of the mountain cemetery. Dream. So what inheritance did you get? 8 Fei Ri asked half convinced. Just what the video says. Gone. It's gone. 8 Fei Ri Chop looked at Obito with a look of oil and salt, and he didn't take him for a while. Obito, I can see from your past experience that you are a good boy, you often help your grandmother cross the street, and you are still late on graduation day. Uchiha is a big devil like that, he just wants to use you to help him realize the Moon Eye plan, don't be seduced by him. At this time, the 8 Flying Sun cut off the shelf of the Hokage, but like an old grandfather in the village who was bent on persuading young people to be good. Yes, Naruto-sama. Obito agreed. No matter what purpose the other person said it. Obito, do you have any plans next? Follow Naruto-sama's arrangement. Obito's answer made Sarutobi very satisfied. He seemed to have made arrangements for a long time, and slowly spoke. I plan to arrange for you to join the Dark Department and become your teacher's assistant in the future, are you willing? Yes, Naruto-sama. Sarutobi Hinata is hinting at him that he wants to support Watergate-sensei to become the Hokage, and now he is using himself to pave the way for him. It's really well-intentioned, is this what it feels like to be brought by someone? At this point, 8 Flying Sun Chopper does not know how many times more reliable than Madara. Obito secretly slandered in his heart. Sarutobi got his own satisfactory answer, and continued. Well, Obito, everyone has secrets, I respect you. As long as you don't do anything to hurt the village. Do you have any requests or questions? I'm back in the village, are I really alright? Obito asked the most curious question. He was curious about how Sarutobi Flying Sun Chopper viewed his identity as a public enemy of the ninja world. Unexpectedly, Sarutobi smiled freely. It is now the end of the 3 wars, and I, Konoha, as the victorious country in these 3 battles, have already demonstrated my strength to the ninja world. The other villages have just gone through a war, and they have their own disagreements, so how easy is it to unite against Konoha? Moreover, I have arranged a new identity for you, and the news of your return to the village, the high level of the village and your companions, no one else knows. As he spoke, he looked confident. Obito was in awe in his heart. Wily. Old traitor. Old and strong. Worthy of a generation of ninja. Ape-Fei Richo seemed to remember something, looked at Obito, with a hint of radiance in his eyes, and said. I have always had a heart disease, and your appearance has made me see the possibility of radical cure. It's Uchiha. Gee, you're even better than I thought. Sure enough, the blue is better than the blue. Ape. Flying Sun Chopper did not hide his appreciation. False, Naruto-sama. It was naturally impossible for Obito to tell him that he had helped Itachi's purge plan in his previous life. Obito, do you have any more requirements for the village? Ape Flying Sun Chopping decided to promise benefits and close people's hearts. Don't let anyone move Lin. So much for that. That's all. The more the ape flew the sun, the more satisfied he was with the soil. Strength, heart, wisdom. And most importantly, not greedy at all. Not like some old guy. After taking the soil away, Richo turned around and looked at the full moon in the sky, with a trace of vicissitudes in his eyes. Watergate, you have a good disciple. I bet Konoha's future on him. Obito came out of the Konoha conference room, Rin and Kakashi already waiting at the door. The three of them walked side by side not far before they ran into Tuanzo. Who at this moment, with a kind smile on his face, asked in a kind tone. Obito, why don't you explain your identity to me when you are in Yuyan village, then I will definitely help you deal with Hanzo. Master Tuanzang, thank you for your kindness, I don't want to trouble the village. Obito said lightly. Tuanzang directly threw out an olive branch. Obito, such an excellent talent as you, the root organization needs you. However, Naruto-sama has already made arrangements for me. Obito threw everything at the ape Flying Sun. They chop this guy. Sure enough, it was the first to go. Tuanzo's teeth were about to be crushed, but the smile on his face remained the same. It's okay, they are all ninjas of Konoha, and they will naturally have the opportunity to cooperate in the future. Obito was too lazy to fight with him, exchanged a few pleasantries, and left with Kakashi and Rin. Obito, you are now a big red man in the eyes of the high level. Lin looked at Obito who was being wooed by the high level with a look of adoration, and her beautiful eyes were shining, like stars in the sky. I said I wanted you to watch me become a Hokage. Obito said softly, and then ran to Kakashi and mocked. Hee, idiot Kakashi, now you know that Uncle Ben is better than you. Quote. Idiot. Kakashi is still a dead fish eye, and he doesn't put Obito in his eyes. Kakashi, see if I don't beat you up every day next. Obito rubbed his shoulders irritably, pressed it under his armpit, and ravaged him fiercely. Lin looked at the two who were fighting together and narrowed her eyes with a smile. It's good, everything is back to square one. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.